I met a Gypsy.
We're good? So what time are you going to be out of here? 11. So we'll just go to 11.
Yeah.
And then we'll do another hour or something tonight.
I got 11.
Oh, so it's already 11. Fuck, that went quick, eh? Time flies. Righto, Ben Townley is finally sitting in the studio.
In the studio.
It's been a really long time coming, mate. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because we did one up the Sky Tower, right? I think. Yeah, up the Sky Tower, and then you came back. Oh, that was when you were in NZ for Essex.
Did we do the podcast then, and then the ride was after? Was that?
Yeah.
Fuck, that was a blur that weekend.
Yeah, well.
No, are you sure? Because we did 2
definitely,
years. Okay.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. And then I've been keen to come in studio for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and keen because then we just sort of talked about my career probably.
I don't even remember what we talked about last
just
time.
Have a yarn this time.
We so we just got back from...
Talk about some topics.
A bit of hot topics. Yeah, Ben's always got a hot take somewhere floating around.
I probably have a different view on a lot of stuff. Yeah,
just because you're far away from it.
Probably. Yeah, because I'm like a fan now. You know, I follow the GP stuff, probably not as much. It's just hard. It's on the wrong time of the day. Yeah. It doesn't work for me. And to be honest, I grew up really watching American stuff. That's what I wanted to do. And then the timing of it. Now my kids watch, you know, I mean, they watch it all. So, and the timing of the day, that's probably the biggest thing, right?
Well, and that's why I reckon it's so important to have a good TV package. That's probably why this year's been such a...
Mate, we could go off on a tangent
we could
already.
Literally just start right there. Yeah. But so we'll paint a bit more of the picture. So we had 2019, we went over and did the tour. So we did the podcast, we did the tour. And then that was, like, I knew you then, but we weren't like mates in the same way. But since then, we've been just boys, but we haven't been able to cross the ditch or do anything. I actually had another trip booked that got canned through like the whole COVID thing.
That was to go riding like we've done this week, right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And then I think I was going to do some race or something over there.
Yep, that's right.
What one was that?
MX Fest.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's what Jagger said. He said it was probably MX Fest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we did Manji. So the drought was broken, and then we did our Manji trip, which was pretty epic. And
it was wicked.
And then straight back here. So that's
Manji was a blast.
That's painted the picture of the last little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So it's coming up 2 years.
Crazy, eh?
Yeah. 2019. Is that 2 years or 3?
Yeah. Well, it was the end of 2019.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much 2 full years of no BT. Just heaps of weird voice messages and shots of the New Zealand tracks that just piss me off every time you send them.
Yeah, a bit of track porn, eh?
Oh fuck! That's all NZ is just track porn.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's wicked riding. Obviously, topography lends itself. We get heaps of rainfall, so the dirt's always pretty good. Apart from sort of get December, January, February, it's sort of a little bit off, but yeah, most of the time it's pretty bloody good, man. It's epic, actually. Just if you enjoy just riding, it's not so much about the racing, you know, and that's the trip you did, you know, with the Bishop boys, you know, like we just went riding and just had a blast. And that's, I guess for most people, I was talking with Sammy about it this morning, you know, I want to come over and do that Transmoto thing just because I just want to go and just have hang out and do a bit of riding as well, you know. So.
Man, we've already spoken about it, but I haven't spoke about it on the podcast. The Transmoto that just went down in Gympie was just as good as riding a bike gets. It was so phenomenally good. The dirt, it was just one of those perfect storms that had heaps of rain, that had a little bit of rain before it, and like the dirt was just wet all the way through. And they had this grass section that was kind of like it was like an overgrown creek bed kind of thing. And it was just the most perfect soil. And you know when you get those ruts that curl over themselves?
And just topple in.
And you're just leaning into it.
Nice.
Oh, it was just unbelievable.
Because I stayed with FD this week and he loved
Same thing,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How good is it to see him doing his thing? Side note.
Yeah, awesome. It's, he's probably like the first person that I've seen that does things in a very similar way to what I do in a coaching sense. It's different because I guess he's working with professional athletes as well and riders that are, they're on the process of becoming professionals. So it's a little bit different, but just his standard and the detail that he's working to is, it's pretty cool. It was really cool for Jagger to be involved. We did 3 days riding with them and just to see, how they're doing and the standard they're doing to it.
Yeah.
I said to a couple of his boys yesterday, you should go there this weekend expecting in your mind to win. And we just talked a little bit about like not focusing on the result and getting lost in that, like just focusing on the process and letting the outcome be the result,
Yeah.
And he's got a wicked program going on, man. It's cool to see, and for him, he probably didn't achieve what he could have, so he's really he's completely invested in actually seeing those riders succeed, and he keeps them so accountable, man.
Yeah, no, it was cool, man.
Yeah.
I remember saying when Ford was in the thick of his career that he was just too fast for Australia.
He was too fast for his own good.
Yeah, but I think that the tracks here is what fucked him essentially, is because he was going so fast on these tiny tracks that just didn't facilitate the speed that he was going. And I just always pictured him going to like a Glen Helen or a Budds Creek and actually having some room to stretch it out, and it would fit more of his capabilities, I think.
I agree with that, yeah, for sure. And we talked a little bit about that yesterday. When you're in the moment, and he was, I don't know, say in his mid-20s when I beat him, when I met him, but you're just so immersed and in this little bubble, and he couldn't sort of stop and look outside of that. And he looks back on that now, and we were talking about that with what's the boys we rode yesterday? Oh, I can't remember. Latimer's, and we were talking about that, and just I was saying to those two brothers, it was the end of the day, everyone else had gone. I was saying, you need to really like make sure you absorb this information that Ford's given you, because he has perspective now on that, and he can really give you that perspective and allow you to not so much, you always need to make mistakes, and because you learn from that, but he can allow you to understand those mistakes a lot better so you can move forward from it.
Yeah, and it's almost like you can't avoid getting into the situations that you would call a mistake, in a sense, like, because they're just natural, like they come up, like you're going to get an injury, you get like something's going to happen, but there's a level of like insight and wisdom that you can have that then you can apply to that situation, which stops it becoming like a career-ending thing or something that sets you like years behind.
You just don't go down this rabbit warren. Like you just sort of, that happens, and then you have someone like him or myself that can go, right, this is what you need to be able to do to avoid that, or to be a better rider going forward. So you keep moving forward. You don't sort of hit that snag and just go down this bad path at that point. So, yeah. No, another side note, Latimer's, mate, that is epic.
That's wild joy,
mate. The dirt is just incredible.
I wonder what it's like when it's dropped.
It was like using, what do you guys call it, a gurney?
Yeah.
Using the gurney, like it was, you couldn't get it off the plastics.
I just can't believe that Jagger couldn't jump a jump there.
Mate, not a single jump.
So I'd be fucked.
They're big. The smallest tabletop, he was wedged doing the big, when you like pull up, and he couldn't make it.
Yeah, it's pretty
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decent jumps,
You filmed out there, eh?
Ronan did a shoot out there.
Yeah, he did the shoot for him. I saw the videos, like when I think Rones shot like their team video last year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty sick, but I've never been out there. I've been out there when they had their Supercross track going.
Good dudes as well, man.
Yeah.
All just straight, like humble people. And
what's the older one?
I don't know.
Ricky?
Yeah, he's like into boxing and like MMA and shit as well. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, is it Lockie? Yeah, he's had like a fight and stuff, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah, they're fucking good boys,
Yeah, no, they're good dudes for sure. So yeah, it's been a cool week, man.
Yeah.
Really cool.
It's been just sick.
I don't know how we got on that topic, bit of a side note was that.
No, that's all right. No, it's been just sick having you over. And I think we should talk about Manji too before we go too far, but that was like just one of the coolest weekends. And I think probably like the best thing for me to take out of it was the fact that I just rode like shit. Like I was so bad and I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like I actually don't give a fuck. And that's like a pretty cool place to be.
Yeah, it was, for me personally, I was pretty keen just to go and do a trip. Like I hadn't left New Zealand for so long. I did go to Spain a couple of weeks prior to that, but up until that point, I think the last trip the last trip for me would have been Essex Open in Melbourne.
Fuck.
Yeah. So it was. I was pretty keen to just go and do so, but go and do some riding as well for myself and just enjoy riding. And then Manji, it's a cool event, man. For people, like I know you've talked about it, I've heard it, you've mentioned on podcasts and on your socials and that and the vlog and whatnot. But that is one of the genuine what you'd call international events. So how you word that is like it's not a part of a championship, right? And there's multiple classes. It's not just pros. And everyone goes there for the event. They don't go there to race. Yes, kids go to the race and Toddy and those boys and Ferris and, whoever, Tanti, and they go to the race. But the rest of the people, they go there to race, but that's for the event. And you could see that as soon as we got there, you could feel that in the atmosphere. And I was there 2014, 15, I don't know, somewhere around those. And it's even better than then. Like they've brought the standard of it up with, the speaker system.
Arguably too much.
Yeah, exactly. The track prep was primo and just like, they got good food vendors and like where you stopped and did that sand burnout, like all those people there I spoke to, they don't even know what moto is. They just come there because of the event and the atmosphere of it and just go to have a good time and
that's the importance of good grassroots events. Yeah. And that's the importance of supporting those events because you just don't know how many people that were on the fence go home and buy a bike.
I'll straight out say, if there's people in the industry listening to this right now, if you're not there, you are missing out for your brand. Yeah. You're missing out. Yeah. I know the Fox boys were there. I don't know them well here in Australia. I'm a Fox athlete in New Zealand, but they were like, "Well, we're going to be here next year." Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I've tried to go back there. Each year is because it's just such a good event, and there's such a divide in Australia. Obviously, just like this massive part of land in the middle that no one can use, basically. Yeah. So it's like you've got the east and you've got the west, and I think it's a real shame in our sport that there's not more of an effort to go there. And it's like there needs to be more of a nationwide effort to be like, okay, we can't ignore the WA scene. There's so many riders. There's so many great riders. Like the junior scene there is crazy. We've got this traveling roadshow of Australian, pro racing. It has to go through there. And there has to be a way that you do 2 weeks, you get a shipping container and then you put privateer's bike. Like all of that stuff is possible. And it has to be a non-negotiable thing going forward.
Like if we just talk and we just narrow it right down, I cannot believe that KTM did not send Kurt Gibbs there. Like to me, the cost involved in that, if you break that down, it's a couple of flights, right? You got to ship a bike over there. And then some maybe hotels. I mean, Willie, he supports all those. But it is a great platform for KTM to have Kurt Gibbs on the start line. It just blows me away that he wasn't there.
Yeah, well, and I think that it's kind of unfortunate, but there's almost just a level of lack of support not support. I just don't think companies see the value in it in the way that they should.
Yeah, mate. You maybe have to go there to experience it. But anyway, I mean, that's just my view on it. Yeah. But the one thing that for me about Manjimup is the location. That whole region. Yeah, it's a killer region. Everyone's. When you get off the plane there, you just feel like it's just more of a relaxed vibe, and the east coast of Aussie, it's pretty hustle.
A bit of traffic about it.
Felt like I was back in SoCal last night, but. When you're over there, man, it's a different vibe for sure, and I really enjoyed that part of it as well, for sure. I guess at the age I'm at, it's, when I go to that event, it's not just about there for the result, I'm there, the result for me is to enjoy myself, so what we got to do and the experience you can have is pretty cool. So, I really encourage the moto industry to get in behind and get over there because it would be one of the only real signature events left like that.
Yeah.
Well, it is the only one in New Zealand and Australia that I believe is at that standard for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think it's funny. Everyone's always giving Willie shit, the promoter.
Yeah.
Like everyone will take a jab at him constantly. But man, I just have to say, and I probably haven't publicly said it enough, that dude is a fucking good promoter.
Yeah.
And he runs an incredible event.
Oh, he does.
And people always like, money that he's making. And hey, so he should.
Well, of course you should.
So he
you
should.
put your nuts on the line to do something.
Oath, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't think
and
he
it's
gets
not
enough
easy
credit.
event promotion.
Yeah.
I've had to go on the last couple of years, and it's not easy, man. Like it's a hard gig, and he's got it going, and you should reap the reward if you're willing to put that effort into it. And I'd love to see some international riders there, like some true, like I've talked, we've talked about RV and
yeah. Well, so we should.
I'm not going back there on a 450, so
yeah, I know.
Call them out right now and say,
yeah,
bring that PC 125 and let's get it on next year.
Yeah, I think there has to be an official call out for RV because we missed it by. Like there was, I don't know how the.
Well, he's seen some of the footage post event.
Well, Myrtle, I'm blaming Myrtle. Myrtle fucked up the program. We got the agents involved when we didn't have to. Ryan, you don't need Lucas Myrtle to fucking organise your riding at Manjimup. Don't let him talk to you anymore about it. Talk to Ben and get your ass there next year.
I talked to him actually on the plane on the way home, I think, and I said, mate, it was a cracking event. And then he's seen the footage, and then we've spoke since. And then he's talking about like potentially whole family coming out for a trip.
And that's the move. Yeah. Like that's what you got to do. Like just bring the fam, get a motor home. Like I'm sure are the boys racing like his twins.
Like I seen saying on his Instagram they're driving up to Pac West.
Yeah, right.
In a motorhome this weekend. So I'm assuming his boys are racing.
Doing.
Yeah, I'm assuming that. Yeah,
because that would be so much fun, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
and he would love that. I was telling him about the breweries, like we were talking about the track. I was talking to him about the breweries and just the general scene over there. And I said, and I think at our age and everything we've done, like I talk so often about it, like especially for me. I mean, he raced in the US and then he did his little gig in the World Championship. But I've travelled all over the world and I've seen nothing because you're so like
tunnel vision on racing. And now when you get to have those experiences like we did, check it out and try out the food and experience all the, what the area has to offer. That's living then for sure. Different. It's just a way different perspective than just being so focused on your craft or business of what you're doing, Dude, I'd love for the Tomac hurlings.
Yeah,
that would be
the
perfect track. It's like half sand, wide open.
But it's just it is a brutal man's track by the end of the day, man.
Dude, it was so gnarly this year. Like super, super gnarly.
Yeah, it's fast, man. That's the first like gnarliest part about it to start with. It doesn't matter if it's got rough or wet or whatever it is. Just the speed alone on a 450. It's that makes it brutal to start with. Yeah, when you go from like the finish line, it's like half of the track until you get down to like that sort of, and when you hit the sand, for the first time, and then it's that part of it's pretty normal speed, you'd say. Back to the finish, and then it's like, righto, boys.
Just start clicking gears.
Strap on again. Yeah.
The wall jump.
Yeah.
And then you go there. That is...
Well, they call that rock and roll, eh?
Nah, that's up the hill.
Yeah.
But, like after the start straight, and then you've got that wall there. That is so gnarly every single lap. You're just like fifth gear, wide open, and then you're just like looking at the dude next to you like, when are you going to stop? When are you going to stop?
When I was racing as a pro, I would never think about the what ifs, But when I go down that straightaway now, I think, I hope my brakes work, man. I never used to think like that, but like, mate, you'd send it. You'd be in the like up in the camping zone.
Could you imagine how far you could jump off that if you had a landing? Well, I just want someone next year.
Someone will double that jump.
100. Just we need someone from America that doesn't give a fuck about that stuff.
Someone like
Josh Hill would jump that.
Jump that.
But
easy.
He didn't. But he didn't. So you need one guy to do it first.
Yeah.
Once one guy does
jumpable.
it. Yeah. Dude, I overjumped that thing and landed like right in the middle of that one lap.
Yeah.
So I feel like
it's easily jumpable, but Yeah, it wasn't going to be me.
But that's what you get, like Josh Hill come,
Yeah.
or one of those boys, he'll do it like third or fourth lap, and then it just opens up the floodgates. Imagine the spectacle.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's pumped on the footage of the race as it is.
Yeah.
Imagine if you added in people jumping that whole deal, just every lap. For
Yeah,
the
I
entire
can't. I just like the spectacle of like if you're just standing back in the pits, where we were.
Oh
pitted,
yeah.
Like just perspective of that would be huge.
Yeah. So that's the shit that needs to happen, because all those dudes that were on the fence by the whoops, they would not be standing by the whoops. They would be standing there staring at that shit.
Yeah, for sure. So.
But nah, good weekend. So, and then we went from we did Manji, and then you're back here, and then Jagger's racing the 65 Cup on the weekend for the Blow Crow. Yeah. And then we did a couple of days coaching, which I really enjoyed. Yeah,
it's been a wicked week. I was meant to be here with a young kid, Cole Davies, who's going to race in America next year. He was coming and I was going to be here 3 days with him this week, and then he broke his collarbone, so Jagger's come in to do the YZ65 Cup. So we just left the flights as they were and spent 3 days with Ford and his crew, and it's been wicked for Jagger and for me, and just what we did together. I love coaching and helping riders, and so we did day one was MX Farm. And then day 2, Woodford. I don't know, Joe. Yeah, Joey Van's track. Yeah, that was cool. That was real Kiwi spec, that track, man. Dude, it was gnarly. Yeah. That's when we got there, and I was like, boys, like, because all Ford's crew was there, like Gypsy and Brock and Jet. And it's like, boys, this is when you earn your money. Like, this is one of those days where you just like, you clock it in and you're clocking out, and work fucking sucks so today. Much, yeah. You learn so much from that, though. Like, if you can have an open mind and understand like the skill set required to execute riding to a high standard that will then allow you to go fast on a track like that, you learn so much, man. That's I find, for me, tracks like that are just the biggest mental challenge. Just to because you can't get in a flow. It's not fun. No. It just feels like the bike doesn't want to stay underneath you, and it's like if you can, they're almost the days that you're really going to make progress if you stick it out. They are. And like if we look at what he had, who'd have there, Kirk, Brock and Jet, yeah. And the two young, like Kirk, mate, that was his jam. Mate, fully his jam, right? And then because just his bike skill and the way that he can ride, but then the other two, for them, it was challenging, and they would have got a lot out of that day. Not so much speed wise, but to actually understand how to ride correctly to then maximize their riding on that day. Then they'll, the next time they come to something challenging at a race event, they'll execute that better because of what they learned on that day. Yeah, that's how that works. Yeah, and I always think about, I think about it a lot with work, like, because the editing stuff that we do sometimes can just get so monotonous and be super overwhelming. Like Manji ended up being like an hour and 20 minutes on a timeline that, you got to sit through, and then you've got to, all right, how am I going to cut this down? And you've got shit everywhere. And I always say to these boys, and I say it to myself, like, you just have to stay in it. Yeah. Like, it's so easy to get pissed off. It's so easy to get frustrated when there's like things that you don't want to do or things that are really hard. Yeah. But it's just at that point, your only challenge is basically like, how long can you stay in the game and like actually be here and be present? And that is what those days of the track kind of look like to me, Yeah, well, I guess like furthermore, if we break it down, there was one section there, and FD, like, he's big on like those real 1%ers, and where there was a gnarly deep rut. And that you came down the S bend, and then it was a left-hander, and you had to stand through it like it was super deep, and then it was like I guess you call it just a standard dirt rut into a sand berm where there'd been like a wash coming down. Yeah. And Jet would go through the rut standing, and then he'd like just absolutely jam his rear brake before he went to the turn. And FD's been working on a lot from that. And then I'm like, no filter. I told him, dude, what are you doing, man? You do not need your rear brake at that point. I said, like, on this track, all you're doing, and because it was quite dry that day, and all you're doing is upsetting the bike, and the way that it settles in, you've got to have the confidence to go from that point, transition, and just just roll through your turn without using the rear brake.
But it was the exact same thing that I was doing, but with the front brake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like brakes at that point are just totally unsettling your bike to actually then go and just transition into the corner. You've got, like, the bike has to be free. It's not designed to actually be bound up. Yeah, bound up at that point, to drive through a corner. I mean, hell, there's heaps of other stuff. The way that your suspension's working, the sag, your tires, whatever, but you then add in an element that you
can control.
Yeah. You've got to have the ability to actually say, no, I'm not going to use that, and you're just so much better off,
Yeah, no, it was cool. Like, so we did. Ben had there'll be a video coming out. The boys were filming, but Ben had a set of earphones in my ears with like a little headset, and then Ben had a microphone on the side of the track, and I think we did like some jumps first, and then we did a left hand right, which was pretty technical, and then we did like the right hand sweeper. So there was so much. I mean, for me, like, how much I love technique, obviously.
Yeah.
I love that whole thing. But that was like my first ever motocross coaching.
Oh, really?
That just wasn't Dad telling me how to ride, or like me listening
to... Go faster.
Yeah, go on, mate. You're fucking slow.
Have a crack.
Yeah, just fucking send it. But yeah, it's like either just talking to people on the podcast about technique, or honestly, that's probably why I try and talk to people so much about it, is because like I feel like there's a lot of room to improve, obviously. And then, like, it's just knowledge is power, essentially. And, like, I know from the martial arts stuff, it's just even a black belt is learning things constantly.
Oh, you're always learning.
It's just that philosophy, like, motocross and coaching and learning and technique, it's just not the same thing for whatever reason. I feel like our sport's almost just, like, decades behind other sports when it comes to coaching. Guys out there that go and get private lessons, and like, culturally, it just isn't that much of a thing in our sport. It's getting more, but
I think there's been always a breakdown in the why part, in my view. Just to go back, like, setting that scene a bit more. If we just talk about that second section or in the left hand rut that we did, So initially I was like to Jace, right, we're going to do that left, right, left, and then I could see straight away that was going to be way too
much info.
Yeah, way too much information. Let's just break. We'll do the last. It was the third corner of the section, the left-hander. Let's just work on that. And it's taking the why and understanding what you're doing. That I don't believe that's been in there in my eye, or it certainly hasn't been to the level that is now coached at. Like, if you look at Rhino's a really good example. He gives you the why
behind it.
Exactly. Yeah, not just do this.
Yeah.
But why? That's I think we've really lacked that. That's a critical piece of information that people can understand, and even with a smartphone as well, because you can connect the why, because we were doing it right on the side of the track. I could say, look, you need to stand to this point, and I'll explain to you why. So as you transition to the seat, if you're set up for too long or sat down for too early, your corner just becomes so long, because and I always say, right, and everyone has a slightly different variance on it, but I always say your corner starts when you sit down. And that's where, if we drill down into it, you were using the front brake really heavy once you'd sat down, but braking should be the majority of your braking, unless you really need to slow after you've sat, should be when you're standing up, right? So that's your braking zone. And you specifically, you could see that as soon as you stood longer or deeper into the turn in that specific corner, and it's pretty similar, give or take. I mean, you mentioned this a lot on the day. You take that scenario and you can apply it all over the track, now, right? Yeah. Give or take within reason. But for you, the braking sector of it, and this is where I break it down even further again, and it gets really detailed, but you've got to put one foot in front of the other, right? There was no point us talking about the exit, because you had a big amount of work to do on the exit, and right in that hook there was a real, I don't know if you can show some of that footage on here, overlay it, but there was there's that hook, right? But there's no point even talking about that, because in my eyes, you had to come in and you had to start at the start, at step one, right? Stand further so you can do your braking and get settled, because you've got really good control. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, right? You've got really good control of your bike standing up. It's like really evident for me to see. So you had better control to brake standing, get yourself sort of all settled and calm, and then sit down. Every time it was 1 in 10 that you would get right if you sat too early. The whole way, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we started there, and then it was soften that rear front brake, and then after you'd sat, there was a big issue about, I call it being stacked, so I always talk about...
Which makes so much sense to me now.
So, like, I'm probably going off on a tangent, and people are going to be over it, but like, the stacked part is being hips above your foot pegs, shoulders above your hips, head square above your shoulders, right? And you were getting like really off to the right hand. It was a left hand corner. You were sort of offsetting your weight to the right hand side.
Right, yeah.
So then I always say, and I would have said this a lot to you that day, for every action, there's got to be a reaction. So if your bike's leaning left and your body's leaning to the right, at some point you've got to bring that back.
It's got to go the other way.
Yeah. So just removing that piece to it so that your bike just stays settled at that point. And then what was it after that? I talked to you a lot about and making sure that you keep your leading leg high, especially when it gets to the deep part, but then turning it in. So you're rotating your foot in so it stays connected to the bike. Because if your leading leg, I always say it's like your compass, right? If it gets disconnected from the bike, then you start to sort of really do the splits, basically sitting on the seat, and you're fighting the bike at that point. And it's another phrase I use so much, is that it's not a wrestling match in motorcycle. You should be in complete harmony with the bike, at one with it all the time. So, I mean, we're just talking how it's like 15
just like 10 meters, 10 feet of track.
Yeah.
Well, I think another cool, I guess, thing that we talked about.
I guess I get so like I could just go down a rabbit warren myself talking about that piece, because like there's
just so much in it.
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing is you should, I mean, not to like take the piss out of you, but show the first couple of laps and then show some of those ones at the end. There was a massive gain, man, in terms of what you were able to execute. Just remove speed. Yeah. Because speed is the byproduct of what
doing it properly. Yeah.
Your execution. Yeah.
And the thing that I noticed as well is that there was laps where I started going through it. Like if the first lap was a 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
I started going through it every lap at probably like a 6 or a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Which is a massive increase.
Let's like set the scene. A 6 or a 7 isn't based on doing it at the speed that hurling's is doing it. A 6 or a 7 for you is executing it, Like technically correct, and it being comfortable and consistent. I get that everyone doesn't need to be a technique doctor. Like, it's not like, I'm not talking you should ride, everyone needs to ride like
there
Sexton,
should be a window.
There's a window.
Yeah.
There's a window. And the window is that will allow you to have more confidence. Like you would have seen me coaching Jagger, and that's the reason I came over, actually, because my boys sort of get like left on the side a little bit, because I'm pretty pinned at home. I've got a lot on my plate at the moment, and I wanted to spend this week with him and give him
off Instagram then.
Give him a bit of time, and you would have seen me with him, right? I didn't use a stopwatch all day, and I never told him to go faster. I just worked with him on like understanding, the execution or the process of doing it correctly, and that's how I do it. I barely ever use a stopwatch unless you're at the level where you really need to understand that
what difference something makes versus something else.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that the one thing. So it's probably worth talking that everyone's probably doing just one thing wrong.
Yeah, true.
And then that one thing then leads to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
And then but it starts with that one thing.
I have heaps of phrases, right? That's the snowball.
The snowball.
Yeah.
And so for me, when it came to the cornering, is that I was just too heavy on the front brake, and it was like kind of like stabby. And then I was trying to slow down too much, but then I wanted to go faster through the turn. So then I'm accelerating way too early in the turn. And then because in my head, I'm chasing speed.
Let's drill into that a little bit, right? So, and you might be able to show footage of this as well. But so Jace was coming in, he was braking so we're talking about how momentum assists you, right, in those scenarios. He was braking really heavily with the front brake, which is it's a good thing. You weren't over. I never talked to you about the rear brake at all. I don't even know. I didn't even watch it. Well, it didn't. When I coach, I just pull everyone up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know if that's a negative approach, but I don't talk about the good things, because all I can see is what you can do or what you can change to make you better. But you are so heavy on the front brake that it was just your reaction, and instinctively you're like, I need to use the power to get moving. So removing or reducing that front brake allowed you just to carry momentum into the corner, and it felt really uncomfortable for you, because it's like, whoa, this first third of this corner is like, I'm moving so much quicker, right? But when you adjusted to that, then you are able to then execute or what's the word I'm looking for? You're able to utilize that momentum so much, and it made the corner easier. But the hard, and it's the same with the jumping. That was the exact same thing, right? I was like, mate, you need to take control of the jump as opposed to the jump taking control of you. And that in that instance, it was using the power. The instance we're talking about in the rut was like, reduce the brake. That'll allow you just to roll in, and then you can then control the power when you need to. You're not actually using the power to actually get you back into the speed. Yeah. So again, that's the action and the reaction, right? So the brake was the action, then you had to react with the throttle. Yeah. So then the bike gets,
and then you're going faster. You're like accelerating in a weird spot, so then you got to hit the brake again. You just end up chasing it, and
snowball.
It's like, and it's just like knowing that one thing, and then that. The crazy thing that I found, there was like one lap where, because I was kind of riding off the track, so I wasn't doing the track, I was just like basically pinning it in a straight line at this rut. Yep. And I was like, fuck, I've never gone this fast at a rut like this. But it didn't
every
feel
lap
fast.
I was like, dude, like if it wasn't a good lap, I was like, you didn't start the section like you mean to execute the section, right?
And so I think that's probably the interesting point, is that I wasn't trying to do the turn faster. I was just trying to get the right momentum to then flow through the turn. But it's like, that is speed. So like you're now going faster. Yeah. So there's no thing like you've just got to go faster. It's like I could see how going faster would help me, as opposed to being some like it's hard to explain, because like you feel like everyone's got a level of speed that they're at, and where they think like, I'm going too fast.
I mean, I rode later in the day. I was like, this is gnarly out here, you know.
Yeah, and so everyone's got that like, fuck, I need to hit the brakes. Yeah, but it's like, it's figuring out that you can go faster and it feels safer in certain aspects. And I think another cool thing as well, it's actually probably changed, like even since I left those 2 days. I really just want to go back and ride some tracks that I'm really used to riding,
familiar with.
But now I can like put all this new shit into play. Yeah. But I've just been riding my motor wrong too.
Yeah, true. Like, can we just go back a second? You when you were talking about you were coming at a straight line to the corner, can you like sort of think back to that moment? When you were approaching the corner slower, do you think in your mind you were like already thinking about the corner? Like, to me, that when I was watching you approach it and you weren't like just like I could say to you, I need to hear that engine get up and like accelerate. Like, I want to hear the tone of the engine. I said once, I don't know, like if it'd be too hard to find that, but I said like, if I was blind right now, I could hear that you didn't approach the turn fast enough. Like, and what I'm asking you is, I believe when you are approaching it slower, you are already thinking too far ahead of yourself, instead of being right there in the moment, like step by step. You're always just putting one foot in front of the other, because if you're thinking too far ahead, you're not right there, in that moment, like really present with what you're doing just there. Yeah. That's my that's when I look at it and assess it. That's what I thought was happening. That's why I was like so big on, right, get it up, get that bike, like, get it accelerating to the turn. So you're like in the moment controlling the bike just there, as opposed to just dribbling along and then trying to like really do it really correctly all the way back there. You just got to do every piece of the equation at that moment in time. Yeah, I think that you could probably describe it as like, on
like a game where you've got the ghost rider in front of you.
Yeah.
It's almost like I'm chasing the whole time. Like I'm never in front of that guy.
Yeah.
So like my mind is where that guy is in a sense, instead of like feeling like I'm level with that dude. I feel like I've always need to go faster.
Yeah.
So I think it's almost like, even I did the Porsche driver day the other day, right? And like I understand racing where like I know racing lines, I know apexes, I know like where guys for cars, I know where they're driving on the road. Like I know how to do that, even though I've never done it just because I've watched it. But then I was in the car and I was with Fabian Coulthard. And he's like, man, you're doing everything fucking sick, but you're just you're trying to go too fast, like with the throttle and the turns. Like you're just accelerating like way too early. It just doesn't need to be here. Like you've just got to, it was the same thing in the car, just like get off the brake, flow through and then accelerate on the exit. Like I think maybe it's just you grow up thinking that the fast guys just accelerate the whole way around the turn, but it's just sort of not the case.
Yeah, and I think that just goes back to when you're talking about coaching and where we're at in this day and age is the understanding the why. That's the part that like we've been able to drill down into way more, and then you get an understanding and you start to get a feeling for that, and then you execute it, and you're like, oh, well, that's why.
Yeah, and I believe. And I think another massive thing as well. And I'm just banking on people thinking that this is interesting. So it's not, sorry. But I feel like as well, I probably didn't understand like the way I should use the motor.
Right.
Like I feel like the way that I ride a motor is like a drag race, like first, second, third, like you let it rev, and then when it's revving, you change gears, and that's probably not the move that I figured out. Like there was one corner when we were doing that sweeper, like I was hitting the turn in third, short shifting to fourth, and I would have thought like, oh, I'm going really slow. Yeah. But it's like you're clicking fourth, the throttle's wide open. You might not be revving the fuck out of the thing, but like you're building that momentum and torque in the engine, and then you use the clutch a little bit to get it up there. And it went from like straight line ruts have always been a thing where I'm like, fuck, I'll just ride around them. But then, you could see this massive difference where like I'm fighting the bike in these ruts and the bike's like revving out. And then as soon as you're like click fourth before the rut, power all the way through it and like relax your hands. And then after 3 or 4 goes, this thing that was hard for me before forever with just like a little bit of extra knowledge and a different approach, same straightaway, different approach, and everything was easier. So I think it's just, I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, just understand, like just try and get as much understanding as possible, and it can just change your entire experience. Yeah,
I guess that's the point that I would like love to like people to understand this whole discussion is like riding a dirt bike. It shouldn't be you shouldn't be like scared or uncomfortable with it. Like I see a lot of people that it's like a wrestle for them, and like it should be a really enjoyable experience, and just get if you can, like get an understanding of how you can get into enjoying it more than what you already do, I guess is probably what I'm trying to say, because then you're able to really just be at one with the bike and have a really enjoyable experience on it. And it's not, I think you and I talked about this, it's not, we all have that same buzz.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're riding at Tomax speed or you're just riding around at whatever speed you are. We all have that same buzz, but if you're out there and it's you're feeling slightly uncomfortable, then get an understanding of how, whatever that scenario is that you're in, how can you be more comfortable riding your dirt bike at that point?
Yeah, and that's so true. And it's probably something small, like grabbing a bit too much front brake.
Yeah.
And then like you said, you're just setting off that snowball. So it's like, for me, if you're a rider that like is wanting to improve, it's like you just got to go and find those few key things that you're doing 5, 10, 15% wrong. Yeah. That then once you clean up those things, it translates into just a completely different
experience.
Like a much better experience. And now, it's to the point where I'm like so excited to go and ride, because I'm like, all right, I got all this shit that I need to work on, and I can see like, I've definitely been doing that a little bit wrong. I know I've always struggled with that turn, but it's that, like, for example, there's a turn at the QMP natural terrain track, and it's like a long left, and it always gets like a weird rut, and it's that same thing that I was doing at MX Farm, I do in that rut. So it's like, you can just, everything translates, and it's like just that little bit of extra knowledge now can kind of push me forward.
I guess like that'll be really interesting when you ride next to know if you are able to execute that better, or if it's if you basically ride better in that scenario, at other places without me standing there, in your ear the whole time. But I guess for most people listening, it'll be like, like I just want to ride my dirt bike, and that's cool.
I get
that's
it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But if you want to have a better experience, then just have a little bit more understanding of like certain pieces of the puzzle that are probably holding you back from having a better experience. I guess that's all.
Griff, we're talking to you, bro.
Jagger pointed that out to him, right?
That was so funny.
He is dry, man.
Oh, Jagger?
Yeah.
He's not on the sarcasm wave with the say. He's just like, what, bro? Oh, dude, he fucking rips, buddy. It's so cool watching a kid. It's like gnarly watching a kid ride like fucking Chase Sexton on a 65.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like he's come a long way recently, and watching him now, I watched some of those videos back later that evening, and that final turn was, and for him that day was no different to the stuff I was doing with you, just working on those little pieces of the puzzle, and him understanding how, like for him he's on a 2-stroke, right? So I had him going through there, or I shouldn't say, he was going through there in third gear, and I was giving him like a little bit of feedback on how that 2-stroke, like a 4-stroke has really good torque value.
Yeah.
You don't have that on a 2-stroke, so just using the clutch enough just to get that into that sweet spot in the revs, and it's cool to hear a 2-stroke go through a corner like that, and like really sort of rip a good lap on a 2-stroke through there is pretty cool to watch and see. Yeah.
It was just cool as well watching a kid on a 65 do like 3 tanks of fuel in a day. But it was insane.
You go to MX Farm, like shameless plug to MX Farm. That place is
bullshit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Like if you just want to go away for the day or for the weekend and go riding, if you don't have fun there, then ask for your money back.
Sell your bike.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it in the paper. Oh, so we're doing, we'll finish the coach and chat. We'll move on to some more pressing issues. But methodmoto.com. So that's Ben's coaching website. So
online platform.
Yeah, so you can go online. There's a bunch of different courses. Is there any other services you offer through that at the moment?
No, not right now, but we're just sort of working on that right now, to be honest with you. But yeah, I set that up because like I coach a lot one-on-one. But I'm really good at one-on-one. I'm not even that great at one-on-two, like in that, and then
like a group setting, yeah.
Because I'm just, you would have seen I'm so detailed on what I see, like I found it hard, you and Jagger being there. Like it was like, I just like to just give that one rider that the most feedback I can give to help them be a better rider. But the online platform where we sort of got to with that. We'd seen it in other different forms of, I don't know, Pilates or yoga or whatever, and looked at like how can we,
structure it in a similar way.
Yeah. So we're still working on it. It's certainly
go to Method Moto, put it up on the screen just for everyone that can.
I guess it's not for. I guess in our sport, it's not common.
Yeah.
That's not a common way of doing it. But the one thing about what we've always said is it's in your own time. You can learn anywhere, anytime. In that perspective, because you can be at the track, bring up the app, and then be able to, like, especially for fathers, right? Or even for the likes of yourselves, anyone, like if you're really wanting to become a better rider, the ability to utilize that at the track. If you're out there, if you're struggling and that hook, there's a section of ruts on there that you can just go straight to. It's even like it's broken down in each of those modules, right? And then you go in there and you're able to understand, like, man, I'm struggling, like what am I doing wrong, and you can if someone's filming you, that's why I say smartphones are so good. Like they take over your life, but in certain areas they're so beneficial,
so good,
right? And we were doing it on that day, and like I could stop you and say, hey, look, see this, and then you could refer to that, immediately. So. And
we should, do some kind of like Gypsy Gang promo or something through there as well. If people want to sign up, we'll figure it out. I'll leave the link in the description. But yeah, I'm on there, and I've been watching the stuff. So it's so cool to do. Like, this is so common in jiu-jitsu.
Really? Yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
Dude.
But it's not common in our sport, right?
Man, and honestly, like, and I tell Anna all the time, like, she hates watching this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel I'm a person, like, it's like monkey see, monkey do.
Right.
And for Moto, it's like a lot harder because I don't do the reps.
Yes.
But at jiu-jitsu, I can watch a thing and I go and do it. Like, it just translates so perfectly. And to have like the best guys in the world that just like tell you their techniques and then you can practice it and go and do it. It's so common. And like I tell Anna all the time, I'm like, you have to just watch these fucking DVDs. Like it's a cheat code. Like it's literally cheating. You don't have to figure this shit out yourself. There's all of these guys that are the best in the world and they literally tell you what they do. Right. And then they show you footage of them doing it in competition to the other best dudes in the world. It fucking works. Like,
right.
All you need to do is watch and understand and do it.
Yeah.
So it's common in so many other sports.
That's no different here, but I think it's not common in our sport. It's a different way of actually doing it. And I think, again, like, I don't know if everyone isn't invested as in like, I just ride my dirt. I just want to get out of the house, ride my dirt.
I get the logic, but I don't at the same time.
Yes, me too. Yeah. But I think that's where if we go back to where we started this conversation, I think that is slowly changing. In my opinion, it is because, where there's more information out there around how you can do that without paying someone to be standing there like I was the other day. You can get it in a different forum or platform now than what it has been in the past.
Can we give Griff a free subscription?
Yeah, when Griff needs it. Ask Jagger. Jagger reckons he needs it.
But like, man, so just like to finish this off, like I was the guy that
I've been trying to think. You were saying like how brutally honest he was with Griff, and when we were driving here earlier, there was something about crowd surfing on the radio, and Jag was like, "Oh, is that when you jump off the stage into the crowd?" And this is how brutal he is. He's like, so if I was in the crowd, I'll just move sideways. Just let them fall flat on their face, he reckons.
Yeah, your son. Real dog. Starting early.
It was so good, eh? It was just me and him, and that was him. I'll just move sideways, just let him fall on the floor.
He's not real keen on learning jiu-jitsu, is he? I tried to get him into it. Not happening. Yeah. But like, I was the guy that would go to the track. So I had like 8 years off riding. Like I just didn't ride when I went to America.
Okay, yeah.
Like I rode literally twice, and that was it. So when I moved back home, and pretty much like I said all the time, like the podcast got me back into riding. I was like, I'm probably fucking done motoing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I had so long off, and then I was so shit at it that when I went to the track, even though I fucking love motocross more than anything, like actually doing it was so hard.
Yeah,
and you don't ride
wasn't
very
as enjoyable.
Nah, it just wasn't fun. And there's so many people that would be listening to this right now that if they were completely honest with themselves, they like watching motocross more than riding motocross.
Probably, yeah.
100%, man. And that to me is a massive problem in the sport because it's so like, dude. I mean, even Ricardo's a perfect example. Yeah. Like he fucking loves it so much, but he like fully doubts his ability to ride a big bike.
Yeah.
And he's just like, there's no way I can do it. It's too gnarly. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But if you start at the start and you learn the right way to do things, like you can develop more confidence and it goes back to that argument. I mean, there's probably guys that are in the middle where like they enjoy riding, but they're not like that good at it. And they're the guys like, nah, I just want to go have fun. And it's like, bro, just invest in yourself a little bit and you're going to take that enjoyment level to the point where now, like me and Maddie at that Transmoto, I think I did like 7 or 8 laps, like 7 or 8 half-hour laps. I was fucking fingered. Like, I couldn't even lift my arms like this, and I went out and did another lap because I was having so much fun riding. I didn't feel out of control. I didn't feel like I was going to crash. I felt good. So it's like then the thing that you like doing, when you can do it well, it just makes it even more enjoyable
experience.
And then I look at you ride, and I'm just like, this motherfucker, like the way that you can just go out at
and that's just repetitions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so it speaks to that,
Yeah.
So it's like, just invest in yourselves. If you're listening to this and you want to ride even 10% better, riding 10% better equates to a probably 70% more fun. And you know what I mean? So it's like the trade-off, like you put in a little bit, you're going to get so much more out of it.
Absolutely. And I'm not a salesman. Like, it doesn't matter if you're not into the Method Moto thing or you don't even like me as a person.
Which is probably pretty...
There's a lot of people.
There's a lot of dudes, eh?
It's just like... And I mean, we need to finish this topic because people might be fully off. You might be losing listeners. But... it's just about you enjoying your riding experience more than you currently do, because as you go out there and you do things slightly, you tweak things, and it'll become easier. There's no doubt about that. It'll come easier, and then if you want to go faster, then that is the equation to going faster.
Bang. What should we talk about next?
I think.
What are you the most excited to talk about on this podcast? We've had so many chats in the last couple of years.
Motocross of Nations. I want to talk about that.
Tell me about it.
Australian team has got an awesome opportunity. Like, I've got a lot of. I'm as Kiwi as it gets. I'm
sheep rooting the whole deal. You are as fucking Kiwi as it gets, bro.
I'll take it. But Australia have an amazing opportunity this year, to actually win the thing.
Dude, can you imagine?
You said it a year ago. I was like, mate, you're on crack. Like,
really?
I did. You could go back in our voice message, and I was like, no, mate, you're on crack. Like, that's not happening. But this year it is.
I don't even remember what I said.
I think you said it on a podcast, and I was like,
I need to go back and find the messages.
Yeah, you did. You definitely did. And I was like, nah. Oh, it was because it was going to it was in Italy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was probably some clickbait thing that
that I'd known
got me
for.
like big time. Easy pop. And I was like, mate, you're like, what are you on about? But this year for sure.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Really, really cool.
And Mitch Evans peaking at just the right time. Like,
hasn't he?
Bro, he's been through
until he got run over. Did you see that?
Nah.
Yeah, Moto 1. Like,
oh no, I haven't seen. Pull up the highlights of that quali race if you can. I want to watch the great man ride.
Like, he's a good rider. Eh? Like, there's been a lot of niggles and injuries.
That wrist injury was real bad. Like, I saw him.
I don't know him. I just watch the results. That's all. And
okay.
I was at Italy, and he struggled there. That was a brutal track.
At Sardinia there. Yeah. That track's gnarly.
Yeah, real gnarly. And he was on the struggle bus there, but that was just pure fitness. Like, if you went like at the top of your fitness game,
and it was real hot, eh?
Yeah, super hot. Yeah. And but he's hit some form now, man, and that's just like made Australia's chances even better.
Dude, what did you think? Yeah, play this. Let's just watch. I don't think I watched all of this. So he started, like, it was pretty much Geyser was behind him pretty much the whole race, eh?
Yeah, I like he made easy work of it. Like, it wasn't like not that I remember anyway. Like, that's him going to the lead now, and he just set sail from what I remember.
That's crazy because that's his first win too, really. And you got to think, man, that the momentum that a rider can mentally generate from momentum. He's got I don't know if it's public. I think it's public, but he's signed on for HRC again next year. I
had heard that.
Is that public, Griff? Do you know if that's public? Oh, okay. Well, fuck it.
Clickbait.
I'm pretty sure that he's signed for HRC again next year. So that's got to give just like that level of fucking poor Jed. He's finally started to get a bit better too. He broke his shoulder in that
rough go of it, man. It's been a tough year, man.
Yeah, well, he broke his shoulder in that first or second race or whatever it was. But yeah, so anyway, Mitch getting the deal to ride for Honda again, that's got to take a bunch of pressure off. Oh, that's right. Richie's over there with him as well.
Oh, really?
So he said that had made a massive difference. The fact that Richie was over there, who's obviously
that's cool.
Insanely good rider as well.
Yeah. He was, when I was here at Coolum when I was here a couple of years ago for Levi to race, he was racing then at Coolum.
Yeah.
Richie.
Yeah.
No, he's a good rider, yeah, for sure. But, I mean, just talking Motocross of Nations, it's, for me, Aussie probably has under-delivered for a long, long time in terms of, you've had, Reedy and Burner and McFarlane and a bunch of crew. I don't know. There's heaps of names. I'm not too good, Johnny, on the spot with names, but you've had the ability to perform, and I think you've only been on the podium
once.
Yeah, is that right? Was that France?
Yeah, it was with Mossy. Mossy with JDR bike was on the podium.
Was it? Was it Reedy, Mossy, and
Burner maybe, or Metcalf? Was it
Metcalf? Suzuki, right? Yeah, and that's a pretty average result. Considering what you've had as a country and over a number of years now, but this year has the ability, if you win the Motocross of Nations, you're going to be like Australia is, that is all time.
Yeah.
Biggest race of the year. I think obviously the fact that, Jet and Hunter, the form they're in, that is what you'd say.
That's the backbone of it.
Yeah, exactly. But then you've got to have that third rider. You cannot race the Motocross of Nations with two awesome riders, let's say stars. The third rider has to back up, and that type of form that Mitch is in right now, that allows you that opportunity to go for the win. Yeah,
man, it's gonna be crazy at Redbud as well. Yeah. And I think the fact that all the boys are gonna be on Hondas, it's just it's like a dialed in program, because I feel like Motocross of Nations is one of those, unless it's in Europe. I think you see it's in Europe. And then you got all the riders, all the teams, their own bikes there. It just logistically becomes easy. I think one of the reasons Australia's always struggled is because it's so disjointed between, I think the team managers always kind of comes from Australia, and then sometimes there's no riders that are in Australia that's even doing it. You got one guy from America, two guys from Europe or whatever. So it's always you got the Aussie front, you got the American front, and then you got the Euro front. And you're trying to line up these three things to come together. And I think that does make a difference, But it seems like now you've got Jet and Hunter, you've got their whole program. Then you've got Dazzy that's going to be super involved. You've got Myrtle that's going to take care of a bunch of shit for those guys. He's also Mitch's manager.
Oh, is it?
So Myrtle manages all three of the guys that's on Team Australia. So you've actually got it feels like a team, you've got a solid foundation, and then it's already there, all their bikes are there. Mitch is going to be able to kind of jump on the program. So it sort of seems like a lot of the factors that maybe when we had the riders to do the job, we just didn't have the infrastructure or the
Stars
team,
didn't align with all of it.
And maybe that's not as important as I'm making it out to be. Maybe I'm kind of looking into it too far, but I don't know.
What's going to be important is who they decide to ride the MX2 bike. That's going to be Hunter. The most important factor. Is that set?
100%.
Is that set, Griff?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Is that public knowledge? I don't know what's real anymore. Yeah,
you got something wrong with your right eye, Griff.
Well, have you seen the footage? Go to Lawrence rides a 450. Have you seen this video?
Yeah, I have.
What did you make of it? Well, he's going pretty slow. I don't think he was. Not that he's going slow, wrong word to use. I don't think he's sending it, essentially. But why is he riding that 450 if he's going to ride it?
Well, he's riding that because he's racing it next summer. That's
100%.
Whether that's public knowledge or not, that's exactly what's happening, right? So he gets that stupid rule they have in AMA racing. So he gets 1 year to defend his...
Fucking look at him go. Full screen it, put it on so the people can see it. Moto Academy ain't gonna fucking clip this video. Let's just enjoy. This is always this video right here is the pivotal moment. I can remember the first video that came out of James Stewart on a KX 250, and then you see the first footage of Barsha on a 450. You've always the first footage of Villo on a 450. It always feels like kind of a special moment when you get to drop the first footage of a guy riding a 450.
Yeah, for sure. makes riding look effortless at times, eh?
Yeah.
As I say that.
Yeah, he fucks up.
Yeah.
Hey, so watch this. Well, let's go back to technique for 2 seconds. Sorry to everyone. Watch pretty much before he sits down, every time, he's doing like a pump with his legs. Have you noticed that?
No, I haven't.
So watch for this. Every time he does it's like a pump, sit. Watch every single time. And that's like a BMX and a mountain bike thing. Is like you have that pump, and then sit.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I definitely noticed in that term where he is now,
Pump,
the previous
sit.
lap. But that, whether that's come from Dazzy or from Johnny O, I mean, obviously he's had a huge influence in what their structure is in America with the entire program, I guess you'd call it.
So what would you make of that? Like just watching that, what do you think that's doing? Because that's super obvious.
Bike, just setting it, just making sure you've got it like planted into the line as you go to then transition, right? So when he goes to transition, that's the point of finishing your braking and then settling into your seated position for the corner. It's just making sure it's just nice and settled in that line that he's in.
Yeah.
You're not sort of just leaving it to chance, right? You're just like making sure, bang, like, yeah, right, I've got that bike grounded.
That's the line.
That's the line. I've got it settled. Yes, I can transition now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that's the one thing that really stood out to me in this video is it's almost like he's overemphasizing it in a sense.
Yeah, but that's how you
make it that muscle memory.
That's right.
Yeah. So to me, when I saw this video, I was like, okay, this is Jet at full cruising pace, trying to do all of his technical things that Dazzy's essentially asking him to do.
One of the things that I reckon that stood out for him, especially because we've been able to see his whole progression from amateurs, he has never ridden like an amateur rider. Have you noticed that?
In what way?
Doesn't rev well, doesn't do these massive scrubs, isn't trying to like over engineer a corner as he goes through it, just I'm going to move this boom out of the way. He's never ridden like that. And that's the whole entire program of having someone like Johnny. We were talking about earlier with Ford, right? And this is on a much lesser scale or different world from there. But I said to Ford yesterday, none of your riders ride like amateur riders. Jet has never ridden like that.
Yeah.
And that has helped him progress so much quicker because you're not like doing all this wild
extra
shit.
Yeah.
That just actually you're going slower.
Yeah.
Justin Barsha is a perfect example of that. He would go faster if he didn't ride the way he rides. I cannot believe that he is with that program of having the man involved with it and he hasn't changed some of those habits. He would go faster.
Yeah.
You're a 450 doesn't make peak movement forward at 15,000 RPM. It does not work.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I just can't believe that he still rides like in that. Anyway, so the point being is when we were watching that with Jet just then, he hasn't ridden like an amateur. If you watch a lot of those amateurs come into PC or Star or whatever team it be, they come in with this wild and it's because their amateur tracks are a lot smoother, heaps of jumps, like I was just watching.
Well, and it's fun.
Absolutely.
I think that's a big part of it as well. Like that's one thing. I'm obviously like the biggest fucking Deegan family fan, but I look at Hayden, and that's my only thing that I could say is just like you're just revving the fuck out of that thing. It's probably too much.
My boys watch a lot of his stuff, and he's actually he's been through some periods when he hasn't done it, and man, he rides the bike so much better. But they'll iron that out real fast. They run a very slick program, man. That whole program.
Yeah,
I get sick of people like ragging on them about. I was talking with FD about this the other night. Like they rag on him that he's had everything. The buck stops at Redbud, and what was that thing called? The Combine. The buck stops there. The dude is a B. He went out and he absolutely flogged them. I don't care if he's got. How many followers are there? That doesn't even matter.
Yeah, that doesn't help you when you're on the track.
Whether you've got 1 million followers or you've got none, that does not matter. The gate dropped and that kid flogged them. Yeah.
And on the same...
All respect to Chance Hymas and whoever else was out there, man. He flogged them, man. and that shows you he's in a good spot. And that's a culmination of the program I've done over the last, like, sort of, you'd call it 24 months if you were just to keep it narrow. It's been longer than that, but you look at the program in the last 24 months, which we've all been able to see. Like they leave it all out there. There's nothing hidden.
Yeah.
And that's what's culminated in that, the decisions they're making and how they're going about it. And so just to drill into what I was talking about with Jet, he hasn't ridden like an amateur, and that has allowed his progression to be so much quicker because he's not going back and undoing all this
bad habits.
And
I completely agree.
We're dancing around a bit. We'll start on Motocross.
We'll finish on that, I guess. But yeah, how do you think that he's going to go, or like how can he go in a first 450 race at that scale? Like, could you imagine making your 450 debut at Motocross of Nations?
I think you can put Jet in a Jeremy McGrath sort of like, park the Motocross of Nations just as a 450 rider. He could line up at Anaheim next year in January 2023 and be competitive. Yeah, Dungey did it.
Yeah.
McGrath did it. Dungey did it. He could. There's no doubt about it.
But should he, though?
I would love to see him race the East Coast and line up at Anaheim on a 450. And
can you do that?
Yeah.
That would be so sick.
Yeah, he should do that. He should line up on a 450, and he's completely capable of lining up, and mate, he could be competitive straight away.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Is that the move though?
Yeah. So, why not?
Because I think you sent me a clip of Villeman saying that he's wasting his time in the lights class next year.
No, it wouldn't have been me.
Oh, you sure?
No.
Someone sent me a clip. Who was it? But yeah, a Villeman saying like he's wasting his time in the lights class. He needs to just go straight to 450. Like, I don't know that I think that.
Nah, I'm sort of on the fence on that, to be honest. Like, RC was involved with. I was involved with RC for a while, and he said like, mate, you've got the rest of your career to race a 450. Don't be in a rush. But the thing is with Jet, like he only has next year to race in Supercross. That's it. You know, like you're bound by the rules. But why not race some 450 races? Like,
but I guess, do you think? Like, I agree. But do you think that he should scrap the 250s altogether and just go straight to 450s for a full season? Like, I don't think that's the move.
No. But I'd love to see him do some.
Yeah, me too.
Do some West Coast racing on a 450. Yeah.
I just don't. I guess I don't understand the logic of Villeman saying that he's wasting his time in the 250. Like, that's the bit where I'm like, I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get how it's a waste of time. You go win another series, make another $1 million championship bonus, and then probably $50,000 per race win, a main event win. You win fucking 6 of them, so that's $300,000 just from Honda, and then add in all the other stuff that you're gonna, all the other sponsors, and then your $1 million championship bonus. So it's like, oh yeah, we should turn down that fucking money for 4 or 5 months work.
Yeah,
like,
I don't believe I really want to see him to race. No. Make the money, man. If the money's on offer, like, make the money.
It's literally right there.
You
it's
only
5 months work.
A certain time in your life to make good money. Do it.
And you're setting a foundation for your.
Imagine if you could be like
career.
a golfer, and ride and race until you're in your like.
Imagine if you were Cam Smith and you just got $100 million to sign with Live fucking Golf.
What about, didn't Tiger get offered like some
700 or something? They reckon.
Oh mate, it was extraordinary. Nah, I'm good, bud.
keep the change.
No, I think that Jet should race 250 next year.
Yeah,
but I'd love to see him on the other coast, the opposite coast to what he races, line up on the 450 and do some races. We've seen recent years, Dino did it. Really filled in for
yeah.
But they used to do it heaps when it was 125 250s, you know, back in the two-stroke era. But hasn't been done. I don't know why. I don't know if the brands think the stakes are higher now or what it is. But I mean, he clearly on a 450 is going to be competitive immediately, and it'd be cool to see him out there. We all want to see, you know, what he's going to be able to do on a 450, and if it's on offer to do it next year, then do it. Get out there. But I agree. I don't know what Villeman's thoughts were on why he should be why he thinks he's wasting his time. In my opinion, I don't think that racing a lights bike and Supercross is a waste of time when you can probably earn well into probably $1 million of bonus money for doing it. I mean, if that's on offer, then
he's only got 19 mil to hit that target to go for the year.
So I'm excited to see him line up on that 450 for sure.
Yeah. I just think, like, I guess my take on it would be, like, you're a young dude with a young body, and like you can see the way that, like, I don't think people understand the years that it takes to get ready for a full 450 season. Like, you can't, unless you're doing drugs, you can't shortcut the physicality and the shift to do 17 races of Supercross and then 12 races of motocross and then 3 rounds of super doopy doopy cross. Like, that fucking toll that takes on a body. And then if you have any injuries in that time. So, like, for me, I'm like, if you can make this much money by, like, taking a lot less risk and still building that foundation and leaving you in a better spot. Because could you imagine if Jet said, oh yeah, fuck the 250s, I'll do 450 all year next year. Like, think about the toll that takes on his system to ride a 450 all Supercross and then do his first outdoor season on one as well. Like, I think it's just so much. Like, just take the year to just, because if you go from the 250 indoors, 450 outdoors, then that's like another step. It's like, just why skip steps? If you're making money along the way, the fans are happy, you're winning races.
Oh, you got no argument from me.
Like, just,
I'm just a fan, and I'm just like, I want to see him. I want to see him racing in the 450 class. But you're 100% right. That is the right move to do it in that manner, or that those steps along the way. Yeah, that is the right move. You just mentioned, like, it about what the toll on the body, and if you're on performance enhancing drugs, it doesn't matter in our sport, mate. That is not. It's so consuming mentally to be racing. Like, they start those programs in sort of November. They're testing.
There's no off season now.
Mate,
like, they're fucked, especially with the new super shit. Yeah. Like, they've just fully fucked the program. That
program is massive, and that toll is huge. So if you remove half of that season, like he would do next year, in terms of just racing east or west, that's going to buy you time in the other end of your career. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
no doubt whatsoever.
And then I think it's a cool chance for Hunter next year to not have Jet in the lights class for the outdoor championship as well. Like, he's been fucking impressive this year.
Yeah,
I reckon. Like,
it just hasn't quite hit his stride, I reckon, yet. I believe there's more in the tank, and he hasn't unlocked it. I talked to him. I don't know Jet, but I've known Hunter since 2015. I was here doing a couple of races in Aussie, and I got to know Hunter then, and I've always been on Hunter train for sure. Like, he's a cool dude.
Just a cool dude.
Yeah, wicked person, and I often sort of just give him. I'm pretty. I don't have a filter, and I just give him my thoughts. It was sort of started after Mount Morris. Like, he should have won Mount Morris, and I sort of gave him my thoughts on why.
What is that? Like, what are you thinking?
I believe that he's still not just letting himself go. He's over. If you really analyze, like I do, we're going down another.
Go there. Just go there.
Down another coaching. I hope I'm not the end of Gypsy Tales.
Bro,
plummets.
If I can't kill Gypsy Tales, you can't.
I just analysed what he was doing that day, and to me, it just looked like he's still overthinking the process slightly. It's just like, mate, you just got to just let it go, and that's the difference between those two right now. Now, that could be because of the snowball effect of what happened, for Hunter for a couple of years. He just lost momentum, and there was just heaps of different snags here and there, and there was injuries, and I think he had some health problems with his diet or whatever, and he's definitely got the train on the tracks. There's no doubt about it.
But how much did you sacrifice, or like, what was the cost of that?
Yeah, and I think potentially, like, subconsciously, it's like, I'm doing really good. Potentially,
don't fuck it up.
Yeah. And when I watched Mount Morris that day, or High Point, sorry, it was just like, mate, there was just that little bit just of tension there that could have just let it go. And it's just, he's so like, when he rides a bike, he wants to execute it so well.
Everything perfectly.
And it's like, he just needs to just let it go, and he will actually just increase that. Like, he's doing that. It's instinctively in there anyway, but you see those small,
there's a little bit of mind present where there doesn't need to be.
Doesn't need to be, yeah.
Do you see that with like Levi and Jagger? Like, is it a similar thing? Because like Levi's kind of that Mr. like analytical.
I've seen that just recently with Jagger. We had a club day a couple of weekends ago, and I was saying to him, like, when you ride during the week, I just see you just go, and I always talk about riding to your potential, not the result. For me, if you're riding to your potential in New Zealand and you get beaten, they must be flying, you know, because like you're riding your bike really well, and if I tell you you're riding to your potential, I know what I'm seeing. You know, I'm pretty accurate with saying like, that was really good. That was, this needs to change. But overall, that was to your potential. And I said to him on the day, I said, that turn there specifically, you went off the start, left, and then there was a right-hander, and there was some wicked ruts in this corner. And I said, you're just going in there and you can see you're overthinking it and you're not allowing yourself to just ride to your potential. I said, go in there, go through your process, and if you tip over, you tip over, but at least you've attempted to ride to your potential. And then he did that, and man, it was just like a light switch straight away. And so that's what I don't, if we now take that and go to the highest level, I just don't think that Hunter is just riding quite to his potential. And that people are going to go, what? But there's a little bit more in the tank, in my opinion.
It makes sense too to be like, I've definitely felt at times where, like, if you look at the trajectory of like this show, it's like at one point there was just like nothing to lose,
right?
It doesn't what you do sort of doesn't really matter because no one gives a fuck, But then as you build up to a certain level, like you do have something to lose.
Yeah.
And then it does, like I've probably went through it for a little bit where I was like, just don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. And then it's like you trip over yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
If you don't have that don't fuck it up thought, and then you just do what's been working for you, then it's like you said, you're just free then. So I mean, it makes sense.
That's how Jet Lawrence rides a motorcycle.
Yeah. He don't give a fuck.
No.
He's not. He just doesn't. That gear that gear isn't turning, and you could probably see it in a guy like Kenny. Like, why after a massive injury you're just like, don't do that, don't do that. And it's like you say it when you're riding, like, don't look to where you want to go. Like, don't look at where you don't want to go, because that's where you'll kind of end up going. But I think that's the thing for me. When you talk about Hunter for this year, the thing that makes me so happy for him, like, he might not be winning the championship, it might not be that kind of year, but if you look at where he come from,
that's
like, there was a time, like, I've been on the fucking Hunter train forever, and I just have to. And that for any Aussie that's over there, like, you're my fucking guy.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I
miss having that, because we don't have like a Kiwi
soon.
at
I
that
reckon
level.
soon you'll get there. But yeah, it's just like, I look at where he's come from, and there was times when I was saying how good Hunter was and how good Hunter's going to be. And I remember it wasn't until like Parla 2019 maybe, where he had that real good moto with AC.
Right.
Where like I felt, as someone that talks about the sport, I felt, oh fuck yeah, he did it. Like, he did what, I've been saying that he could do. So if you go from like back then to that guy before that race at Parla where he battled with AC, everyone wrote him off. Like, no one thought that he was going to fulfill the potential that everyone said that he had. So imagine being that guy. That, imagine what it was like for Hunter going to the line before Jet was in there, and before they were HRC, and before they were, like, you're seeing this like epic product right now of like the Lawrence brothers.
Yeah.
But it's not always been the case, especially for Hunter.
Yeah.
Like, there was a time where like people just didn't think he was any good, and people doubted Geico signing him, and it was like, to go from that guy to then checking the fuck out over the entire field at High Point with your brother. Like, it's a crazy journey.
I was here, must have been August 2014, I think. I raced Toowoomba, and then next weekend was Coolum.
Yeah.
and he was in that. It was in under 19s in Australia.
He was on the Yami.
Yeah, riding for Bish and Wardy. And I was like, whoa, this kid's good. Like, and I met them at the end of the day, and then I called some people in Europe. And I said, there's a special rider here.
Really?
Yeah. And then I watched them at Coolum the next week, and I was like, whoa. Called them again. I said, like, you got to jump on this kid.
Really?
Yeah. He was, when he rode that good at that time, you got to hand it to his father and whoever was involved with their program at that time. They really helped develop him here in Australia to that standard. And then he raced the next year for Cowie in Europe. It was EMX, they called that class. So it was the level below, like, you know, kind of like GP2. I don't know. What do they call that in Formula One? You know, they've got
Moto 2.
Yeah.
Oh, F2.
Yeah, something like that, right? So they've had EMX, which is a step below MX2. And one of those rounds, I think it was Germany in Teutschenthal was the round.
Yeah.
Mate, he just flogged them, mate. Yeah. Like, he was good right from that early age. And then he went to Suzuki, and probably bike wasn't amazing, which probably, you know, snagged them. Like, at the time when I was sort of giving, like, you know, I was always sort of talking to them in the background a bit, and I was like, mate, you got to get on KTM. Like, that's your ticket to, you know, and they didn't go that route. I don't know the whole background story of why they didn't do that route, but the Suzuki wasn't amazing at the time, you know, like, you know, with all due respect, it just wasn't amazing at the time. And then once they then got onto that Geico program, and, you know, the wheels got turning, but then he hit that snag with sort of a couple injuries back to back, and that sort of snowballed, and then he had this, you know, issues with his health. But then since he's got all that sort of iron out, man, and that whole program of, like, having Johnny O and his dad, their father is very the backbone of that program, man, and the way that he looks at it and views not only just the riding part, but the entire their life, you know, the morals and values that they have, and that comes across in the way they are as athletes. It's a solid program, man.
Yeah, man. So something I've been thinking about recently is just like how, because rivalries make the sport, right?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you've got the inter-brother rivalry, but they're like a team, you know, like they're going to battle between themselves, and there's going to be like a rivalry there, but then it's basically like fuck the world and like outside of them, you know.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a crazy, like, you think about the momentum that the sport's going to have when Danger Boy, like, he's going to ride at Ironman. Like, so he's doing the last round if, like, all things go well. He was at Unadilla today collecting, like, his points that he's got to get to do the pro race or whatever.
Oh, right.
But, like, you're going to have Hayden Deegan come in as Jet goes out.
Yeah.
And there's going to be, like, they'll do this one race together, which is Ironman.
Yeah.
And then they won't see each other again until Hayden steps up onto a 450.
Yeah, that's like the opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah,
Like Jet's finishing his 250 career, and Danger Boy's just flirting with the start of it, you know.
And then it's just going to set up, there's this trajectory, like, we're going to watch Jet go through the 450 class. Like, maybe he wins straight away. Maybe it takes him a couple of years. And then at that same time, Hayden, so like while Jet's working his way, you know, starting at the bottom of the 450s, Hayden's starting at the bottom of the 250s. They're going to kind of come up, and then it's just going to be that. I mean, this is all assuming that Hayden's going to do what, you know, I think he's going to do, but I don't see anyone else that looks the way that he looks from that era, you know.
No, but you don't assess it on the way he looks. You can was that the word, equivocally?
I don't know.
You know, like when you say, like, you look at what I'm saying is, right, you look at what they're doing as a program.
Yeah, just the whole thing, yeah.
And you can say that he is going to be successful based on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
The part you can't say X, Y, and Z is the injury factor.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That is that's obviously throw that out the door. But the rest of what they're doing and the trajectory that he's been on, he will be successful. I'll go so far to say publicly that if he doesn't rush, because I didn't know he was racing Ironman.
Yeah.
So I thought the whole, and obviously Star in a bit of a weird spot. You know, they've had like a pretty injury ravaged year, and I hope that
I hope they don't make him go up.
Don't force him up.
Yeah.
I would not like to see him, or I don't think it's in his best interest to race Supercross next year.
Yeah. No, I definitely don't think they are.
This is and I'll publicly say, if he goes into Supercross 2024, he can win straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah. No,
that's based on the program that they're doing.
Yeah.
Like James Stewart spec.
Yeah.
Just go in there and win immediately.
Fuck, that would be so sick.
No, he can.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it. Just based on what you see, the snowball that they've started to. Then they started that, when he was riding that Super Mini on a Supercross track. You see this? Did you see the stuff he was doing on a Super Mini? Like some guys on.
Well, I remember
you
you telling me that. Like there was a time where you were like, "Can you believe what he's doing on a Supercross track?" And you like, he's just gonna do good. Like you can't be on a Supercross track that young doing it the level that he's doing it at and not do well.
Yeah, like it's on a bike with a 14-inch rear tire and a 17-inch front. Like it's like, or 16-inch, whatever it is. Like, whoa, you know. And so that then sets you up, and then the program they've gone to with Star, and then that will then continue to evolve. And I just, after hearing you say that he's racing Ironman, that's cool, but I'd rather see Jet race a 450 than Hayden rush into 250 racing, because he needs that time and experience to be ready to go. And it's not a career is not a race in that sense. A race is when you're at the gate and you're ready to do it. But if you're not completely,
well, what did you say to me the other day? The race doesn't start until the gate drops.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's when your racing starts, once the gate falls.
Yeah. Well, I think so I spoke to Brian yesterday for a while. And about like the Ironman and thing like that. And Hayden just wants to do it because he just wants to see where he's at.
Yeah.
Like he just wants to know.
It's quite cool that they can jump in and do it, because Ryder did that, right?
Yeah.
He did.
He was impressive too.
He did well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did a couple rounds.
Little off on fitness, definitely off on like stamina. But speed-wise, he showed like what he was capable of for sure. Yeah.
Well, I was watching some of your 2007 season last night.
Yeah.
And shout out to Stroop for cleaning out the entire field in his debut at Steel City. But like you look at it, was Stroop, Izzy, and Kennard.
Yeah.
And those boys were just ready to fuck.
Yeah.
Like just day one, they were something to deal with, and they were there for like all the motos. And I actually did think that last night. I was like, we really just haven't seen that in a while, I don't think, to where guys were that ready. And like at that point in time, you and Villo were fucking moving.
Flat out flying,
like really moving.
Yeah.
And for those boys to jump in and even be like in the same TV shot, like that's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. Yeah, Stroop was good. So was Kennard. Izzy, I don't know. I can't remember whether he jumped in straight away.
He was like 9th and 10th. So
really?
he wasn't in this as good. Like Stroop and
I think
Kennard
Stroop podiumed at the final round.
Well, he got second in his first moto.
Oh, did he
ever.
Really? That's right. Yeah.
After he took everyone out though.
Yeah. That was good strategy, hey? I'm going to just rinse these dudes and get out front.
Fuck your title, boys.
I remember that still so vividly. Arvi and I would, up until that point in my season, I had a bit of a meltdown at that point, basically. But I remember getting up and being like, fuck. And then
dickhead.
Arvi was sitting there as well. I was like, yes. But he went on to actually I think he went back to did he get back to 3rd or 4th in the moto? I can't remember.
Like that.
Yeah. And I didn't. Anyway.
But yeah, like, so I look at like Ryder D, like he did well.
Yeah.
Like I think he did quite good considering, but not the level of like a Stroop or one of those guys coming in. And even when Dino went pro and Eli won his first moto, like there was a crazy little generation that could come straight out of the amateurs and just rip and tear. We've kind of lost our way with that a little bit. And Hayden will probably be the first guy, like you said, that just comes in and does it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like the whole scene, and this, this is a whole another topic, but it's changed in that sense where, like you've still got such experienced campaigners racing, up until just recently, Christian Craig, Jeremy Martin, Adam Cincerello was there for a long time. Experienced campaigners, so there's been a big depth, right? And we've seen a change in that I guess that's probably come from exposure of social media and content, but you don't have to rush up to race in the premier class because you can give so much value to to the industry by being in the 250 class. It hasn't been, you need to be in the 450 class
to get any kind of exposure,
to have that value, right? So we've seen a big change in that perspective, and I think there's probably been more depth there at times, so it's been really difficult to actually come in and stamp your name like up in lights. But you got to be pretty special to do that as well. Like you have to be. You remember Eli came to Hangtown and won, like straight up just won his first ever pro race. I was there that day. Were you there?
No, I wasn't at that one.
Yeah, like I was like, whoa, like this is next level, to do that. So
yeah. What was I going to say about I'm glad you mentioned before. This is like one of my like pet fucking peeves, or like this is my pet project, is like everyone's got to stop saying that Hayden's been given everything.
Yeah.
Like it's not fair. Like that,
that goes
you put yourself out there, and obviously, like there's going to be a level of it that's unavoidable when you're in his position. But if you're a person that thinks that, like you're robbing yourself of something special.
Just like sort of like drill down into like given everything, right? You still have to put your running shoes on and go running. You still have to do your drills on the motorcycle. Make sure that you're not overusing your clutch or using your rear brake too much. As much as you're given, when you race a motorcycle, there is so much that you as a human being, you have to do to be able to be the best or one of the best in the world. So given everything goes out the door at that point.
Yeah.
It's not like racing a car or in that same perspective. You as an athlete have so much that you have to control, and yes, having a great bike is important, but I've been in a scenario where I've been really, really good. My Carlton dry bike, my Honda here, was amazing. There was nowhere, not a factory part on that bike, and I could have ridden that as fast as anyone in the world. So the point being is you don't have to have everything to be able to be successful on a dirt bike. There's so many factors at play when you ride a dirt bike that you can control, and like I just talked about with the running tube scenario, you have to have the drive to get out of bed and be the best, and everyone has that opportunity to do it. Just because his father is a millionaire or he has the opportunity to, because of the relationships with none of that matters. None of it matters. Yes, it helps, but you can do it without being in that position.
Yeah.
So those people that think that that's why, that is not the why.
And the thing is like, Hayden will be fine. He don't give a fuck. He don't even know who you are. Like if you're one of those people that's saying that, right? All you're doing, if you're a person that genuinely thinks that the only reason that he's where he is because of who he is, you're robbing yourself of an experience of like watching an amazing talent.
Turn this on its head, that very comment right there. Turn it on its head and actually soak it up and watch something that is going to be really special to actually see and watch. And the fact that in this day and age, like I'm not into the whole YouTube thing, but you can see every move that he makes and like enjoy it, like like watch it and go along for the ride, because they want you. Like the whole Deegan thing, not so much the star thing, but the Deegan program part of it. They're taking you along for the ride, and they're getting benefit, and so they should, because they're investing in what they're doing. But it's really cool to actually, for the younger generation, to actually see that and experience that, be a part of it. Yeah,
and I don't think that their YouTube channel even does a good job of like really showing the grind that kid's on. Like I reckon they just show like the sexy stuff. Because like I've seen,
that's the clickbait, right? You want to see the good stuff. I don't want to see him like going for a run or being in the gym like that.
Yeah, and I think that's probably like maybe part of the problem is like you're just seeing him riding and you see. But like I've seen,
you cannot ride and race to that level without the program being like ticking every box. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, and bro, like I've seen screenshots that Brian sent me from Jeannie. And like text messages that Jeannie has wrote to Brian about Hayden.
Yeah.
And who did she work with?
Yeah.
The fucking greatest rider of all time. And when she is sending messages to Brian being like, holy fuck, then like you're onto something like special. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're a hater, you're just costing yourself something, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to affect this, this kid's career. Like, but I mean, I guess to a sense you can, because look what happened with James, like you start getting haters and then he's just like, fuck it. Like, I got heaps of cash. Like, I'm just over it, like why would I subject myself to this bullshit essentially? But that's kind of my mission, is just like, you flip the script, man. Like, just enjoy what, like, just be real about what you're seeing. Because if you genuinely think that he's only got this because of his dad, then like you're not living in the real world. No. And that means you're watching a fucking movie that no one else is watching, bro. Like, you're just on your own.
Well, you can watch the real movie right there, right?
Yeah.
You can watch the real movie and see what he's doing and how he's going about it to achieve that end result. And that's it's going to be cool to watch.
Yeah. And really
then cool to watch.
The whole cheetah bike thing too. Probably should talk about that, because I feel like I understand that a little bit more. What? Okay. Can I just
But no, but look, like, before you even like say anything, you can't cheat. Like, well, I don't get that. Like, he wasn't riding in the what do they call it? It used to be called stock class. I think they call it limited now. Limited.
Yeah.
Like, he's not in the limited class.
Yeah.
Like, as far as I know, I don't know the rules. I'm not big on the rule things. Like, I'm not huge in following rules, but there's no rule that says you can't like have
a modified bike. In the modified
bike. So
class.
I think that was a bit clickbaity, that part. I assume, I don't know, but the thing that really surprised me, that why would someone subject themselves to actually going down that route? Like, what were they trying to achieve with that there? Because he's not cheating, so. Yeah. But I guess there's a rule there. Like, it's actually... Well,
so there's a claim rule. So how it works is it's almost like a salary cap, I guess. Like, that's probably why so it's like a machinery salary cap. So like some rich dad, like fucking that Hayden Deegan dude, can't go and spend $1 million on a 250F. So like, basically, if a stock Yamaha 250F costs $9,000, then you can claim that bike if you pay double the retail value. But nowadays, like, if you put a set of suspension and a pipe on a bike, you've just doubled. Like, that's pretty much your fucking money there, right? And so, like, Ryder D, his bike was for sale after Loretta's for $42,000.
Wow.
$42,000 US. Fucking claim that dude's bike.
Wow.
So the rule is kind of like, the rule's there, and I get where it's going. But the only thing that you're kind of doing, in my opinion, the amateur thing's kind of weird. Like, there's probably a point where we should all come to an agreement that probably shouldn't be spending millions of dollars on these kids racing. But there is a program in place, and there is, like, Star's got riders, Pro Circuit's got riders. They want these guys to be, on their same bikes, that they're going to race the next weekend at the National. You know what I mean? Like, it makes sense. But so Brian told me that Hayden wasn't on the pro bike. So he rode the pro star bike before Loretta's and said it was too fast and he didn't want to ride. He just wanted to ride the other bike that he'd been riding. So like, he wasn't even on a full star bike, right? So I think why the cheater thing came in, or why people have said he was cheating, is so this kid tries to claim the bike, and then Star is basically like, not a fucking chance. Like, that's not... We've got all of our tech in there, and it wasn't everything. Like, it's not a full factory motor. But why would Star... And then this kind of goes to like a bigger point, that if you let something like this play out, then Star goes, fuck it. Like, the amateur scene's a joke. Like, we're just not going to send bikes there. We're not going to help out. Like, if we're at a risk of having our engine tech or our electronics or our mapping and our cams and our measuring our port measurements, like
IP.
Yeah, that's like Star's IP, right? So if you can pay essentially $9,000 for Star's IP, they're the best fucking team in the world right now.
Yeah, I think there's a bigger sort of point at play here. Like, the rule, that there's a issue here with the rules, in my opinion. Like, I'm not either way on it. Like, if Star and it used to be Geico, because they had a special name for that program, and PC, they got the Team Green thing, and KTM have Orange Brigade. If they want to funnel like hundreds of thousands of dollars into that program, it's probably millions of dollars, to be honest, to actually get these riders and prepare them to become pros, then that's their choice to do that. Like I don't, and that comment that Hayden rode their pro bike, that doesn't surprise me. You cannot just, and this goes more to the point of what we were just talking about prior to this. You can't just jump on that bike and money in that sense or horsepower just doesn't automatically make you go faster.
Yeah.
And that goes way back to how we even started this podcast. It doesn't just go like, right, let's just throw everything we can at this and then all of a sudden, oh, you're just faster. It doesn't work like that on a dirt bike. That just doesn't, like, if people think that happens, it doesn't.
You're wrong.
I can flat out tell you it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I'm as black and white as it comes, right? And that like goes back. I mean, we're dancing all over the place. Goes back to my comment about that Honda I raced in Australia.
Yeah,
didn't have a factory
I remember you
part
saying
on
that's
it.
the best bike you
Best
ever rode.
450 I ever rode. Didn't have a factory part on it, right? But
and it wasn't even a good 450, like that year model.
12 was.
So
12.
So you did
awesome.
like that one, yeah? Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, okay.
You know, Chad's spoken about that openly as well.
Yeah, all right then.
Anyway, going back to the point, right? There's a problem there with the industry and the AMA need to resolve that, because that is fundamentally the issue right there.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And so to get back to the cheating thing, I just want to let people know, like, so this is the...
It's not cheating. Yeah, but that's like, the point.
But so they're saying that, so basically the argument is, they go, well, they're just going 1 + 1 must equal cheating, right? Because they're like, oh, so this kid tries to claim the bike, staff freaks out, and then they took the motor out of that bike and then they put another motor in. So this is what happened. They get a bike out of Evan Ferry, the team that Evan Ferry rides for. So it was just like that GYTR performance kit that I think anyone can buy, right? There's like is a GYTR Yamaha that they do. So they take that motor out and then put it in Hayden's bike. The reason they did that is because this kid dropped the claim by this point, right? And there's a whole fucking another story there. But this kid drops the claim, but there's nothing to stop another dad being like, oh, fuck it, well, we'll do it. So they drop the claim, and then people are saying, well, they still swapped that motor, so it must have been a cheater motor. No, Stars just said, fuck this. Hayden's like, I don't care, I'll ride any bike. Like, it doesn't worry me. So then they pull that motor out, and then he sets the fucking lap record at the track. So it's like, if he was cheating, he would have gone faster. Am I right?
I want to finish this topic because it's just it's stupid. The whole thing is stupid. Therein lies the problem. Is that in my opinion is that rule and how they've got that set up. That is where the problem is. It is not cheating, right? There is no rule that I know of outside of that rule that says you can't run X, Y, and Z, right? So they either need to have a rule that says you can't run X, Y, and Z, or you don't have that rule that you can buy someone's bike at that point, because there's too much invested in the industry preparing these prodigies to become superstars. That's what they are doing. They're investing in these riders, be it Ryder D or Chance Hymas or Hayden. Those, because those three are there. They're the next superstars that are being prepared. The programs are investing in them. The brands are investing in them to be ready to roll in the next couple of years. We're a young man's sport. Yeah. You've got to be ready by the time you're in that window of 16 to 18 years old, and you then set your, you come in and you set your tone for what you're going to achieve in your career. But you do that in this period that we've been talking about with the Deegans or the Lawrences in the years in advance of that, to be ready to then stamp your authority on what you're going to do in your career. And yes, there's riders that don't do that, and they're like a fine wine, they get better.
Brayton.
Sorry?
Brayton.
Yeah, Brayton. But
that's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, exactly. And so that, I guess, is, I just want to finish talking about that subject, because it's just there's something wrong there, and it's not that Star investing or PC or whoever is investing in these riders, that you shouldn't be able to do that, because it's not cheating. So there's no matter here that says someone is cheating, because there is no cheating going on. Yeah. That's the end of story. You good? Yeah, I'm good. I'm finished on that.
Right. You need a drink? You need anything? You sweet? Well, look, it's you guys should probably go.
Yeah.
And then let's reconvene.
Pick it up.
Yeah, we'll
what else are we talking about?
Fuck, we got so much shit to talk about.
We didn't talk enough about Motocross of Nations, and
well, say your shit, mate. Get it out there.
I think. Well, no. I want to talk. We don't have enough time. Because
all right, we'll start with Motocross.
But what I want to talk, what I want to say, and we can just talk about this, and then finish on this. If you're ever going to go, if you're from Aussie or New Zealand or wherever you are in the world, because obviously people, from all over the world listen to this podcast, go to the Motocross of Nations. It is the. Have you ever been?
No, I've been to 2010 in Colorado. That's the first time we ever met.
Yeah, that was
dog shit, eh?
Nah, because I won a moto that day, so it kind of. I just didn't have the atmosphere. It was the first time I'd been in America, and had it ever been in America before that? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know, but it just felt like a national.
It wasn't, and the sort of Motocross of Nations and the
like
hype
an ANA or something like that.
It's built. Go to it, like Redbud's epic.
It's going to be sick this year.
Yeah, it will be sick this year, but. In Europe, it's even better. The atmosphere is electric. If you're ever going to go to a race and you want to go to an event and have an epic time, Motocross of Nations is the one to go to in Europe, without a doubt. There's no other event that I would suggest you go to. So, should we end it on that point right now?
End it on that. And then, so Ben's got to go do some shit at QMP, and then we're going to come back later.
Right.
Peace. Welcome back, Ben.
We're back.
How's your day, bro?
Busy, man.
Well,
this is my life.
I was thinking about that on the way here. I'm like, fuck, he's just a busy.
Like,
it's
real
just
busy.
full on.
Jag's just getting dragged around. We left here. We just drove out and just drove straight there. Got there, and then I've just worked on his bike, changed tires, and just did an oil change, and I was going to say mucked around. Didn't really muck around. Had a quick look at the track with him, and then decided to change another tyre. No, just because it was real muddy, so I put a paddle tyre on for him.
Yeah, that'll make a difference, I reckon.
Oh yeah, it legitimately will. Like, it's the start is just a slop.
Yeah.
So it rained quite a lot the whole way there, and it rained while we were there for quite a bit, and then the sun came out. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Do you want to know what I did?
FA.
Fuck all, Ben. I got home, I had some food, I watched some YouTube, did some stretching, did some reading, ate some more food. And
if people could smell me right now, if you could smell through a podcast, it'd be like, oh, dude, this guy reeks. Yeah, sweating away, changing tyres.
Ben's like sitting back a bit further this time than he was. Hey, we got him against the wall.
No, it was good. Jag was fizzing, man. He was like, you remember when you're like, goggles on the way to the track? That's what he was like. He was
like father, like son.
He was already sweating, and it was cool. It's cool to see that, like it's a first time experience for him, racing overseas. So I guess I forget that, because it's just
business as usual.
Yeah, it was for me, like it was like, right, let's get this done. I got to get back. We got to do this podcast, and I enjoyed this morning, man. It was good, eh? Yeah. Yeah, I was fizzing. I was sort of running through it in my head, some of the things that, like I was still pretty like wound up about the whole cheating thing. Like I was thinking to myself, like
I was watching a bunch of shit on YouTube, like all people's takes and stuff on it.
While we were waiting for pizza, I went on Facebook, and this thing come up of Vital MX, and the kids now come out and
I watched
talked
it.
about it.
Watched
did you?
It, yeah. The thing, actually, I'll add to it now that I've like got additional context of watching these videos. So the kid says, and I actually went and like just checked the kid out on Instagram to see who he was. He follows the podcast, so like he'll probably listens to the podcast. So first of all, this ain't personal. Like, you know what I mean?
Not at all.
Yeah, like it's a real kid that's on the other end, a 17-year-old that's like dealing with all this shit.
Yeah.
So like any of these takes, any of it, it's just not personal. And, so that has to be kind of said, because I feel like all this can get muddy when you're like given a perspective, but it's like directed at a person, but you're sort of not directing any like ill will towards like the person itself. It's just like an objective, like zoomed out view of the situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is. Yeah.
But like after I watched it, so he's like, he pretty much he said he went to his dad in March and said, this is my plan. I want to do this at Loretta's. right there, it's just like
yeah, exactly. Like,
and I'm like, I fucking took everything.
when you said right there, I was already thinking before you said that, like right there, like
that's a massive issue here, right? So shouldn't that be the message, like from the dad to the son, like, hey man, like if you really want to ride a factory bike, then like claiming Hayden Deegan's bike is like probably not the way to get it done. And then a lot of the comments are saying like, this is crazy from Yamaha to do this, and like this is like the I guess the onus is like, or the emphasis is put on like how this is like a gnarly deal from Yamaha. It's like, not really. I mean, you got
in what way? Sorry,
that like the kids getting bullied and like Yamaha's breaking the rules and like all this sort of stuff. And it's like, oh, this is within the rules, and it's like, okay, this goes to like freedom of speech. Like, yeah, you have freedom of speech. It's like, oh, well, yeah, like you're right. You can say what you want to do. You're within your right to say whatever, but there just might be shit that happens as a result of that.
Consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what I thought about is, and it's still, I still haven't changed my thoughts on it. It's just that there's a breakdown in how the ruling is for that, in my opinion. That's what the problem is. Like, this is just blowing out way out of proportion.
Crazy,
the fact that I'm still even talking about this blows me away. Like, but that we're in this, that they're in this situation because of that rule. Like, there isn't a rule to say that you can't
modify your bike.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's a rule to say you can't change the bore and the stroke.
Yeah.
And then you have to run like a stock gearbox or whatever.
But not in terms of like modifications to make that 250 bore and if you're using that gear, the standard gearbox to actually make and performance enhance it. There's no rules around that, right?
Yeah. No.
And that's where I think that probably they need to have a look at it and go, well, it's probably, I get that they want to have like a restriction of spin, right? Like
that should be. That's a smart move.
Yeah, it's not a bad move, but then I guess then the manufacturers have to, like, if it caused that much of a dilemma, they have to think, well, maybe then we have gone too far at this level with the performance of the bikes. I don't know.
Yeah,
but you said one was worth what? Who?
Oh, well, I heard, this is what and it's from a really good source, that they were selling Ryder D's bike after the race for like $42,000 or something.
Right. Yeah.
So, but the thing, that rule definitely does have to be in place. I think that's a good idea, but it's just like anything, you got to adjust for inflation. Like, you literally can't even buy a set of cone valve suspend. That's probably going to set you back like $8,000. So if you've got the retail value of a bike is $8,000, and then you want to go and put some good suspension, like, it's sort of the market, I guess, like the aftermarket industry doesn't really align with that rule, if that makes sense. And then the thing that kind of, there's a real grey area, and it's funny because like in the past, I've probably been more on the side of, like, I definitely don't think amateur kids should be making a boatload of cash, and I definitely don't think that factories should be pumping millions of dollars into these kids. But at some level, it's like, okay, well, this kid is now about to be pro, and there's just a whole program that is like built around these guys, and there's a certain level that you've got to be at when you go pro, and it's like, it makes sense to sort of give the factory some incentive to like develop these riders, because that is the future of our sport, Yeah,
I don't believe it's the term they're built around the riders. It's built around their brand, right? Because they're investing in their brand for the future, so that they can have hopefully some success as pros. That's really what they're investing in my opinion.
Yeah,
you go back and you look at, Cowie's done it now since forever. If you look at the program they've had in place, and then Geico had a pretty strong program for a long time, and now Stars there, KTM, I assume, have had it now for quite a while as well. So that there's an investment in their brand to then, for those riders to want to be a part of that program, so that they look to taking them into those pro ranks, right?
Yeah, and then I think,
and it's a young man's sport.
Yeah.
That's something that has to be taken into consideration. Like you go into pro racing and you're expected, if you're one of those prodigies, to perform within, at least by the second year, at least.
Yeah. So I just think that, and the other thing is like a factory bike, and I think that the whole thing seems to center around the fact that there was like a factory motor in there. And like, I trust Brian when he says to me that like they just didn't use a factory motor. Like, I do believe when he says that. And it's like, even though it's not a factory motor, there's like ignitions that they use, and there's, you know, like the head probably looks the same. Like, there's probably a lot of stuff that is the same. It's not necessarily factory that no one could buy, or it's like unobtainium, but it's like a factory specification, and like that has taken that, like you said before, that's Star's IP. And it's like, if there's just a rule that you can exploit that would force these guys to hand over their IP, then again, there's just no incentive for them to then do this. Like, if this becomes a precedent in every national that you go to.
Yeah, well, that's what I said earlier.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, they're investing in their program for them to then prepare these riders, you know, for the future. And then all of a sudden they go, whoa, if this is going to carry on in the future, like, something would have to change at that point. Yeah,
I don't know. But anyway.
I think it's just a crazy concept that you can just I didn't know that was, I don't think I was aware of it.
So I was doing some listening, and apparently this happened to Carmichael when Carmichael went back and raced Loretta's, because people were assuming that he was just going to rock up on a Makita Suzuki. So then apparently, like, so
someone purchased his bike.
Yeah, I don't know what the result of it was, but I think that there was some stuff. It just sounds dumb as fuck.
Yeah,
like
it does.
The whole thing, you know.
Yeah, just to me, it sounds like a rule that shouldn't be there.
Yeah,
but yeah,
and it's a bummer. I think at the end of the day, the people are painting this kid that did the claim out to be like a bit of a victim, like he's got bullied and this. I feel like what happened is like, hello, welcome to business. Like, this is the way the business world works. You know, you do something that someone doesn't want to do, then on their side, they do something to stop you doing what they like. No laws got broken. Like, welcome to the big leagues. And I honestly feel like the victim in it is Hayden. Like, here's a kid that's just doing his shit. Yeah. And then he's riding the bike that he gets given on a big week that's in his life. And it's
unfortunately, like, he was, you know, like, if you went on YouTube that week, I think I said this to you.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the clickbait of the week. So, you know, he's being dragged
everyone through. This will go up as a clip on YouTube that'll have like a title, and you know, and then we'll make money off these views, and just that's the ecosystem that we live in that he's in right now, you know.
That's right.
But it's like, I don't to just plead like the victim status on like this end is like, you did it to Hayden Deegan, you did it, like, you know what's going down, and you say you want to do it for your YouTube. It's like, yeah, fair enough.
Right, let's put that to bed.
Anyway,
let's get on to Motocross of Nations.
Yeah.
Team Australia.
So we
sort of flirted around that a little bit earlier, but I thought you would have been like pretty G'd up about it, because 12 months ago you were like, Aussie, oi, oi, oi. Or did I say that the wrong way around?
Yeah, no, you did it right.
I was talking to a couple of guys out at the track today, and everyone obviously has a very, you know, they're pretty what do you call that? Like, you know,
they're like excited, and anticipating it.
Yeah. Pretty buoyant.
Buoyant.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm there.
But I don't know if you are. Like, I thought you'd be like ramming it down my throat.
But I don't know. I just feel like it's just like it's right there for everyone to see. Like, Team Australia probably is the favourite to win that.
I just think that I don't think Australia has probably ever been in a position where the expectation is to win, and it's a big deal. That'll be a big deal. That's a first.
Yeah.
If they do win, that's a first.
Has New Zealand won it?
No.
But you've been on the podium, eh?
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, it's to go into the race with the goal in mind that, you know, we're putting our horses in a position to actually take home that trophy. That's a big deal for Australian motocross, and it's probably the culmination of what's happened in recent years. You know, there's been a big push. We've talked about just Australian motorsport in general.
Yeah.
You know, like in motocross at the moment, you've got 3 riders across. How many spots in HRC at the moment? 6.
Yeah.
2 in the World Motocross Championship, and 4 in. So there's 3 of the 6 seats are occupied by Aussies for HRC right now.
Yeah, true.
Right. Then you talk like, you got Jack Doohan, right?
Yeah.
He's in, is it GP2?
He's in F2 at the moment.
F2, sorry.
Just won another race on the weekend. Then you got Jack Miller. Danny Rick, arguably.
Yeah.
Maybe will not be there next year, but yeah, I mean, we're killing it.
Yeah, Toby. Chucky.
Yeah, Chucky. It is pretty.
Jed's been on a factory bike up until this year.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm there. I'm the biggest supporter.
So
of
Motocross of Nations, though. So I want to talk a little bit in detail about it. And actually, do you know who's riding what bike for Australia?
Yeah. So Mitch will be the MX3 rider. Jet will be the MX1 rider, and Hunter will be the MX2 rider.
See, that's where I had heard that it was the case, but I believe that they should have Jet on the MX2.
Yeah. That's like, I could see it going both ways. Like, I can see both arguments for it. So the argument would be that Jet is going to be racing the 450 next year.
That's where I disagree. You can't go to that race talking about next year.
Yeah.
And that's where it would potentially, you could say post-event, if they get second, that you could
he
say...
should have gone back to the lights bike.
Yeah.
But... does that...
We've been, like Team New Zealand, we've been in position. I was actually talking to a mate of mine recently about this when we finished 4th in 2005, I think. 2005, we finished 4th, and I was meant to be on the lights.
So it was you, Coppins...
and Cody.
That's a sick team. Like, that's a Motocross of the Nations winning team.
Daryl Hurley got injured the week before, broke his collarbone, or I think it was collarbone or maybe ACL, I can't remember, one of the two, and then so Coops went to MX2. Well, so I went to MX3, and Coops then filled in for Hills on MX2.
Yeah.
And that probably cost us, like 1 point cost us. Coops would have been better, MX3, and I would have been better.
And what was the thinking?
I don't believe there was any thinking at the time, if I'm honest. Yeah. I can't even recall the thinking, to be fair. No.
And so what makes you think then that Hunter would be better suited to the 450?
To be honest, the thinking wouldn't have been that we're probably going to be on the podium.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we would have been
even thinking about it in that sense.
Like, so it wasn't even at that level of thinking of like, I would assume, yeah.
Yeah. So you were just too blasé.
Well, I can't recall. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
You don't even remember, so you obviously...
There's full Kiwi spec or something, whatever.
He didn't even wear shoes on the plane.
Jagger didn't wear shoes at all today. I said to him, don't you wear your shoes, dude, because if they get dirty, you got to go home with dirty shoes. And we didn't have gumboots. Oh, I didn't think we're coming to the Gold Coast. Who thought you'd need gumboots?
Yeah, true. It hasn't stopped raining here.
I didn't even bring a jacket.
Yeah, we get to breakfast this morning. It's pissing down rain. It's freezing cold, and Jagger's wearing shorts and t-shirt and shoes.
No shoes. Yeah, no, he hasn't worn shoes all day. I've hidden the shoes so you can't wear them around in the mud.
Oh, I love it.
I think really I think who's the team manager, Burner? Or?
Yeah, Burner. I'm pretty sure.
I really think that. I really think that they need to consider Jet going MX2.
Okay.
Because that will be the deciding factor in points at the end of the day. That will be the deciding factor because the MX2 is not generally, unless you have a really unfair start gate like Bud's Creek was, generally the MX2, but Red Bud, that start, you're not going to get a top 5 start on MX2 bike. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
even when you give them the preferred gate selection, it's just not going to happen.
It's long, deep, and then you've got another right-hander straight after it to where it's like slow down and then go again.
Yeah.
And then you're going fast and then down the hill. Yeah. Yeah, fair. So I guess why do you think that Jet would do better than Hunter?
I think just right now,
it's just like he's just going to...
black and white.
Get
he's
hot,
slightly better than Hunter right now, and your performance has to be completely maximised. Not taking anything away from Hunter, but the MX2 result is super important for the overall end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I definitely think Hunter would get on a 450 and do well.
Well, I think he would. Right now, I don't think he would. It would be any different, Hunter or Jet, on a 450 right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like Jet's so early in his 450 development.
Yeah.
That it like Hunter would probably do the same sort of deal.
Exactly. That's my view on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if it's like fully locked away, and I think that, and that's probably one of the things, though. Would you say that the Motocross of Nations is probably more individual than it should be at times?
100%. And that's, I guess, why I was so keen to think about talk about it. Today is that, like, as a team, Australia, that's the deciding factor, in my opinion, to whether, like, it's a real sure bet to have a crack at winning, or if it's they've got a crack at winning. That decision is really important.
Yeah, because if I think about it now with what you've spoken about, as to like, all right, well, let's just put Jet on the 250, but then you're losing that. It's almost like branding, you know, like people just want to see, like people are eager to see Jet on a 450. So it's almost like the marketing move is to put Jet on a 450, but if you're just straight strategy, like fuck it all, let's just win Team Australia's first ever Chamberlain trophy.
This is not about Jet.
Yeah.
It's not. It's totally about Team Australia.
Yeah, all right. You've made me think.
Yeah.
You've made me think.
So if we talk America now.
That was what I was thinking. I'm like, well, what do you do?
Well, if it was me, I would have really liked to have seen Ando drop down to 250.
That would be so gangster.
Now, hear my theory behind that.
I don't even need to. That would be sick as fuck.
If you look through the lap charts this year, who has made the most passes, right?
Fuck, Ben Townley just out here solving motocross's hardest question.
He has honestly found himself on the deck like pretty much every other moto and just marched his way
all
through.
Year auditioning.
All he's done is just pull tear-offs, man, all summer. That's all he's been doing.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
But apparently, I hear that he's not allowed to ride a PC bike, or he's got to have the surgery or whatever. You know, like, I don't know, just back surgery.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Apparently. I don't know.
Who else? So they're going to go with Craig, I think.
Are they? Yeah, I haven't seen what's happening latest. I know that if it was me, I'd be then, if I can't have Anderson, I'd be looking at Cooper. He's sort of come to a bit of form lately.
Yeah.
And I know they're going to decide it tomorrow, our time tomorrow. So by the time this comes out, it's already
done.
Yeah, but if it was me, it'd be Cooper. He's a really good starter.
Yeah, for sure. And he's way lighter than Craig, I'd assume.
Yeah, but I'm just
do you reckon
on the fence about Craig, like the performance and being solid, you know, like
mentally.
Yeah.
Like a big game day kind of guy.
Yeah. It's one game day.
Yeah.
It's not a series.
Yeah.
You've got to wake up that morning and you've got to bring
put your pants on and go.
Yeah. It's a cool event, eh?
Does it feel? I've only been to Colorado.
Yeah, you said that earlier, Colorado.
But do you
feel
does it feel different?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shit, yeah. Yeah. And it's really condensed. It goes. So you do your morning warm up thing, and then, or you've had qualifying the day before. It's a pretty cool vibe. It's got a different format on the Saturday because you go MX1, MX2, MX3, so 3 individual motos. It's a pretty mellow day actually for riders the Saturday, because even the practice is not a qualifying session. It's just a practice. It doesn't count for anything.
Yeah,
you draw a peg out of a hat to pick your gate for Saturday. It's super old school.
Is that the move? Should we be like past that in today's day and age, do you think?
We should be, but we're not. So just leave it there. And then that's some stupid FIM thing. But anyway.
Can I claim Jet's 450? That took way too long for that.
Yeah, really did
you
take
just sat there staring at me.
No, I didn't have a clue what you're on about.
No,
I'm pretty sure you can't. Certainly not at double MSRP.
That probably wouldn't be worth fuck all, would it?
So Saturday's mellow, then Sunday do a warm up, and then it just really the atmosphere builds, especially in Europe, really early, man. Like they come, everyone's dressed and you know in their nation's sort of colours, and there's a lot of noise. You know, there's air horns and smoke bombs, and yeah, it's pretty cool from that perspective. In France, little Cody Cooper story. This is good.
Like Cody Cooper's so good that you laugh at stories about him before you even hear him.
This is good.
Yeah.
So Saturday, this is when we went last, not the 2005 version, the 2015 version.
Was this when you raced it at like 40?
Yeah, when I was 40, when I raced there. So we went to bed. Him and I were sharing a motorhome, and then I can just sleep anywhere, any moment. I don't care. It was so loud, and Cody couldn't sleep. And he said he went up to the party up in the hills and just cruised around in the party during the night until he felt like, I can go back and I'm going to fall asleep.
Oh, he is a wild dude.
He's awesome, mate. Just cruised around and then come back to bed, he reckons. But, and then so the atmosphere builds, and then once the first moto is always MX1, MX2, then MX1, MX3, is it? Oh, I can't remember. And but it just goes real quick, super quick. For the guys that have to do the back-to-back motos, you've got I think it's 35 minutes turnaround, and you're back to the waiting zone.
So who has to do the back-to-backs? The MX2 guys?
Yeah, so sorry, it goes MX1, MX2,
MX3.
3, and then MX1, MX3. Yeah, final race. 450s.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking about the jet thing. I mean, yeah, it's probably the thing that's cool too. Like, say, because I guess I'm always thinking about the sport more in like the storylines.
Yeah.
Just because that's what I'm doing with this in a sense.
Yeah.
So it's like
I can't believe you're not jumping on the Australian storyline though.
I'm all about it.
Yeah, but that's the storyline here. That is it.
How am I not on board with that?
Because I think you're still. That's the problem. You brought it up. People think about this event too individually still.
Yeah.
The individual storyline.
Yeah.
But
that's
not
unfortunately that's the way that this shit goes. You know, like it's an individual sport at the end of the day. Like, I mean, that's what makes this so, like, I guess special in one sense and a little bit like weird in the other. And I even think that about, Team America sometimes. It's like sometimes you get a team. America is the most nationalistic nation that I've ever been in. Maybe America and France are probably like the two gnarliest nations. For sure. Like America, clear, like landslide winner.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just seems like they don't really show up in that way as a team, and it's like, I guess it's because you just got individuals that have grown up their entire life playing this individual sport. Like at no point for them, for a guy like Eli Tomac, like I'm sure Eli never played soccer.
This year you're going to see a change. I really truly believe that.
Yeah.
Because I heard Sexton say recently in one of those post race interview, in the press conference things, like he was all about going last year and he couldn't go, and he's like, up front this year, I want to be there. I'm the guy to. But that's like be a part of it.
Like, cool, and I'm stoked. But it's in Redbud, like, and he's from Michigan, so it's like.
But
that's again, it's an individual storyline. It's not like a Team America. I mean, maybe I'm reading into that too much, But it's just like, I just feel like
Eli's. I've spoken to him personally about it. He is in like boots and all.
Yeah, I'm stoked that that's.
But he hasn't really been like that ever about the Motocross of Nations. It's been sort of like.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate. Not saying I believe this, but it's like, it's easy. It's America. Of course, you want to go win it at home, but you don't really. You don't really want to do it when it's when you're in the trenches.
But I don't believe that matters right now. Let's just put that all behind you. Like, let's think about the storyline of this race
in America.
Yeah, in America. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is sick to see that the Americans are that like into it, but it makes sense that they would be because it's in America. And I always,
but we
always
need
feel like
them to
more,
get back on board with it. Really,
Yeah.
the sport needs it, because if they do, I mean, they've been miles off in recent years. I think I don't even know if they got on the podium last time.
I don't know. Either.
Well, last year they didn't go, which I can understand that.
COVID,
Yep,
yeah.
all that crap. But then I don't think they got the podium at Redbud at all, did they?
No, I think Redbud was like a terrible performance.
Yeah, it was a disaster.
It was a pretty bad deal for him.
Yeah, Roger almost slit his wrist. He was like,
yeah, it wasn't a good day. He actually hung out with the Belgium team for most of the race. But you are right. I feel like Motocross of Nations is at its best when America is just like coming in there like a
I've been there,
ball,
man. I've been there. I've been on that side of the fence where it's like there's just like 60 of them all walking around in their stars and stripes, and
that is cool.
They get every pass. They can go wherever they want, and you're like, man, can I just get one pass from my mum and dad? They come. And it is cool because it helps generate that real excitement and buzz for the event. Yeah. Because they're seen, from what I saw, like that they're sort of more like rock stars to a lot of the European fans' eyes.
Yeah.
Because they don't get to see them, right? They watch Supercross and Motocross just like we do through screens.
Well, you can see how much Hurlings is a fan.
Yeah. And then when it comes to them being present at the event, and there's it's not like there's 30 or 40. There's only 3 riders of that series or that nation that appear. Yeah, there's a lot of excitement and buzz about it. So it brings a lot to the event when they, especially when they're competing to win, for sure.
And Redbud is crazy just on a normal race, like 4th of, it's 4th of July and it's a massive party in America, but I mean the Michigan fans definitely know how to turn it on. I hope they don't do what they did with the track last time. Like just do a normal prep. Like, am I wrong in saying that? Or
I don't even they did something to the Locos Leap, didn't they? Like, I don't even think people would jump in it, or it wasn't.
Well, it was pretty muddy. Like, it was super muddy, but
no, they did. They definitely ruined the track prep. Yeah,
because it's like, I think we all know.
Well, what are the name of those people? Richies, is it? Yeah, Richies. They know what they're doing. Yeah, like it's year on year. They do a great job of the national. I don't understand why MXGP would want to come in and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. No, that's the best.
Doesn't
need to be fixed. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, no, all right. There is a fair bit to think about there. There is more there to think about than I've thought about. I guess I'll definitely give you that. The jet thing is the one that I'm like, oof, what do we do? Yeah. The move is probably to put him on the MX2 bike.
Yeah, I definitely believe that you're going to. It's a surer bet, is the way I'd say it.
Yeah, and the MX2 rider is the guy that I think. To go back to the storyline. I mean, we've had like this one guy that just did it in America on a lights bike and just blew everyone's doors off, and it was Villo. Yeah, and it's like that will never ever be forgotten. No. And then it's like we've almost got this guy. I mean, I don't know. Like, could a 250 even do that kind of performance these days, or was that just
absolutely.
Like? So you think
it's got a? I mean, that was just a perfect storm. Budds Creek 2007, because he was on the inside gate. It was a super unfair start line. He was pretty much riding a legal cheating bike.
Really?
Oh mate, those PC bikes at that point were just incredible.
So what year was that? 07, yeah, it was.
End of 07. Yeah. And then so he and all of the 250s, from what I can remember, got that preferred inside gate. And so, when he got the whole shot and the first 450 around the turn was, not right there at the front, then he was away. It can be done again, but I don't believe it can be done at Red Bud this year, just because of the nature of the length of the start and how deep it is. Yeah.
I wonder, should they try and maybe set it up to where a start's more plausible, or is it just
no?
Is
it's
that
just
like a part of the event?
That's right. Yeah, it's a part of it. You go to different tracks all around the world, and some are right. Red Bud's a right hand first turn. Some are left. Some are uphill. Some are downhill starts. Yeah, it just really depends on. And that's what's so cool about motocross tracks in general, right? Is the they're so varied, from soil to direction to how much elevation there is. You know, there's a lot of different, you know, pieces
that come into play.
Pieces of the puzzle for sure.
I was watching the 07 season last night, and I actually thought that, like, how much, because Anna said, it was funny because Anna's like, oh, what year was this? She thought it was way more recent than it was, because it's kind of it's actually quite a funny outside perspective, because she's completely outside. And she said, oh, what year is this? I said 07. She goes, that's like a long time ago. The sport looked exactly the same. She said the tracks looked the same, the gears looked the same, the bikes looked the same. And I was like, I mean, these bikes are actually probably better. Looking at those PC bikes.
Yeah.
But how do you think they would compare to what we have now?
Well, they say the Star bike is incredible. It's like just an absolute rocket ship. If you go by what people say, I mean, I haven't talked to someone sort of really that races them, but a lot of people say they're like what the PC bikes were in those days that I raced a PC bike. And what I mean by that is, it was like legal cheating. You know, you went to the start line knowing that you had a superior advantage over your competition in terms of performance on your bike.
And so what was that secret sauce? Because it's gone now.
Well, at the time, from what I understand, gearbox was a big part of it. That's if you talk to Mitch about it. From what I can recollect, is the gearbox was a real big component of getting their horsepower at the time. And
so, what would be the things that are at play in a gearbox that makes a gearbox?
Well, he had I'm pretty sure it was the gearbox was done in UK. I'm pretty sure, or there was a special manufacturing at that time, and that was something that he was ahead of the game of.
Oh, right. And so now is everybody doing that?
I assume so.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the early days of the 4-strokes, Mitch was ahead of the curve. He hired a guy that was came from TRD, you know, Toyota Racing Development.
Yeah.
He was in one of the offices there out in the race shop, and then he was a big, you know, driving force behind the 4-stroke to actually get the development going. That was really where Mitch put a lot of energy in at that point in time, because remember they shared the bike, the brand shared the 4-stroke between Suzuki and Kawasaki.
From like 03, 04.
Yeah. I think that I don't recall exactly. And then they went their separate ways, and that's when Mitch
doubled down.
Yeah, big time.
So 06
is when he really clicked gears with it.
So I could be way off on this, but I remember hearing like a few years ago did you know if that guy passed away or something?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has.
Okay, so that was what I heard people attribute that to, is that basically this guy passed away that was working, and he was like one of the main guys that was like right in that R&D kind of area.
Certainly in the early days of the 4-stroke, big part of it. And when I first, because I'd come from Europe riding a KTM, and went and then jumped on I hadn't been on a Japanese bike in like 5 years, and I couldn't believe that the difference in what they were doing in the US compared to what I'd been racing in Europe on. I mean, it's a different, I don't know, it was a different...
Apples and oranges.
Yeah, exactly, because I was riding Supercross and in a different, you know, they're in a different mind space, really, with the way that they set their bikes up and how they perform. But yeah, it was a real game changer for me. I preferred the American setup, and have ever since.
So what is the difference?
Because of their Supercross, they ride their
it's just
bike
generally stiffer, like in the stiffer direction.
Yeah, definitely stiffer direction, and even the balance of the bike is set up. You know, you've got deeper soil when you're in motocross, or you're dealing obviously a lot more with whoops and Supercross. So the balance of the bike is certainly skewed to being lower in the rear of the bike
in America.
Yep. Definitely is, you know, because you're not fighting a lot of the time for traction.
Yeah.
In the US.
yeah.
Have you seen some of the GP tracks?
There's not a lot going on.
Yeah, and so you're really, you know, searching for traction and making that bike tractable in Europe. So
and you've got to be
hit the nail on the
softer.
head. It's apples and oranges. You can't compare the motorcycles in that respect. Yeah.
Yeah, because I always wondered why you had such a crazy era of dominance with the PC, and then it sort of went away. And I feel like there's got to be more than one factor. And I think that we probably...
Right now, if you want to talk about a factor right now, just take my Yamaha cap off. The production 250F is
better
where it starts.
Yeah.
That was the same in that era that I raced on that PC bike. It truly was.
Yeah.
So that's the starting platform that they work with, and then that just allows them to then get runs on the board way quicker with their performance from that point.
Yeah, and I think that you couple that with a motor guy or a guy that passes away that's in the team, and then you couple that with companies coming in and spending bulk cash on amateurs, and then Mitch kind of not really wanting to do that, and then you see AC's probably maybe Faulkner, the last big money kind of guys that, and Mitch has just taken a moral stand on it and just said I ain't getting in a bidding war over 14-year-olds, and you're just I respect that. Probably hurts the race team in a sense, because you're not you'd think about Hayden. There's a monster guy and two monster teams that he could potentially go at, and that's a bidding war that could ensue, and he's just I'm out. I ain't playing that game. So it's just interesting. You see a bunch of different factors.
Call them snowball decisions, right? It's one snowball is losing momentum and the other snowball's gaining momentum, and certainly on that star direction right now with what you're talking about. When I always talk about about the decision as athletes, or those young pro riders, when they make that decision to go. Right now, star is like PC was in that era when I was there. Yeah. You go there as a rider, as a young rider, expecting and thinking that the guy before me won, the guy after me is going to win. I need to bloody make sure that I win when I get on this motorcycle. Yeah. You have that belief in that bike.
And I think it's the same thing with Jagger here.
Craig Deck's a perfect example. Yeah. And that happened to Aaron Tanti this year.
100%.
Luke Clark got injured, and Craig Deck's gone, hey, mate,
you got to win,
this is your opportunity now.
Yeah.
And he knows that.
Yeah.
He knows that there's a list of championships that have been before him, and there will be after him, and he wants to be a part of adding championships to that team. And it's just an aura that comes with being in an environment like that.
Yeah.
And it's almost and you see those streaks and trends continue for a while, and then there'll be one decision, and that's a catalyst, man. And it'll just then there'll be another decision, and then you start to see that flame sort of.
And it's so hard to predict those things. It's only in retrospect that we can look back at it, but to me, it's really clear the decisions that got made.
In retrospect, that's clear.
But in the moment, it's so hard to then stand back and zoom out and have that 30,000 foot view,
Absolutely.
Which is that's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, because when you think when he hired Drino, that's a major, the snowball really got rolling at that time. But did you think that it was going to start the snowball rolling that big? I don't know. That's a big call to say, yeah, I predicted that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and there's, it's funny. There's it's a different world, but in trading, basically the stock market, you've got the S&P 500, which is just that's just the market. It's the 500, best kind of companies.
Yeah.
And then you've got traders, which essentially, so you and me can take $100,000, put in the S&P 500, and it's going to get X%, pretty reliably. But then you'd go outside to these outside, traders or brokers, and then you'd give them that $100,000, and you'd hope that would perform better than the market after you've paid all the commissions and stuff like that. And it's even so many of their decisions, they might be right, but them being right is still based on just so much luck and so much unpredictability as well. So it's even hiring a guy like that, you're still rolling the dice. Even the most educated decision is still met with just so much chance, So it's most people are so much more lucky than they are right,
Hey, I'm not going to argue that. There's no argument to that at all, for sure.
But the stock motorcycle is the That's the starting point.
That's
And I remember the first time I rode one of those bikes was at your place, and I was just like, what the fuck are they doing with this thing? Like, it's just a remarkable motorcycle.
And then with that...
Hey, how much of that's luck? You know?
Yeah.
Because you can make a great bike and you can make a shit bike in equal measure.
And then with that, right, that snowball is that Yamaha right now, you're seeing sort of a culmination of success, and then that then is like come down from upper management, like, right, we're just going to keep this going because it's reflecting in motorcycle sales and our business.
And then you start to build a culture. The biggest example in our sport, I think, of like building a brand is KTM.
Like, absolutely.
Dude, they just come in and so they come in and
here's sorry to cut you off. I think you spoke about it with Sleater recently. There's a decline coming there because of their emphasis on MotoGP.
Yeah, you can. And
we're seeing it.
Yeah, you can see the trends, and KTM did it. They could not pry sales away from Yamaha and Honda.
Yeah.
So at the top end level, at selling 250s and 450s. So what they did is they just fucking strapped up their boots and they said, righto, we're going to build 65s, 85s, 50s, and that gives us this long tail effect of basically owning all the best riders because we built the best mini bike. Like, we have to this is a long play, like we're throwing the ball down the field, but like this will pay off. And then Yamaha has just copied that model now. They reintroduced like this brand new 65, and there's like a much larger emphasis. Like the 65 Cup, the Jaggers racing, that was KTM's thing. Like that was Leesky that did that. You know, like the playbook's kind of there. If you want to build a brand, you have to start at the ground floor, convert these guys. Like Jagger's just going to bleed blue, you know, like it's what, and that was what I was on Hondas as a kid. And you know, like that's what you just stay in. Like I'm still like kind of a Honda guy, you know?
Right. Yeah. You look at KTM this year, right? They're probably not going to win a world motocross championship. Yeah. In MX1 or MX4, certainly not in MX1. MX2, they've still got a outside shot at it. They're not going to win anything in the US this year.
No.
At all. Right? They're not winning here in Australia. No, I mean, Tanti's leading in Australia. MX2's sewing up with a Honda.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to win any. I think they might be winning MX2 in Canada that I know of.
Where's Canada?
You know, like that's major to say that they're not going to win like in a major championship in around the world. And
it's like we just said about PC. You know, you got these errors of, and dominance is so hard to sustain. Like what goes up must go down. You know, and it's not like it goes down in a blaze of glory.
But is it though? Because dominance, right? That you get into that position that they're in. With KTM, for example, I believe that they could have maintained that. Yeah. But their eye is on a different ball at the moment. It's clear that MotoGP is tying up major resources, and that's where they want to be. So something has to give. Yeah. Oh yeah, you can't. I think their dominance could have continued, and maybe not to the extent that it was, but certainly when you say they're not going to win major championships this year. At all, period. That's gnarly. Yeah, that's a big statement.
When would you have to go back?
Oh, like mate, long. Yeah, no, into the late 90s. Yeah, because they're 125 with Langston.
01?
01. 00?
Or 2000? Whoa! 22 years of dominance gone. Yeah. Dude, that's like, and even I know there was a ton of pressure on Toby and Matthias and Sunderland when I think it was Brabeck won on the Honda in the Dakar. They hadn't lost a Dakar in like at some. But I mean, even like for me, you think like if you've done something for you've won for so long, you're almost like. You want to lose in a sense just to kind of like get it out of the way in a weird way. I don't know.
You don't want to lose.
But there's a sort of that pressure. Like how long do you just keep going and going?
That's what drives you to continue to win, to strive to keep winning.
Yeah, but I mean, what's winning if you don't lose?
winning, it's the best feeling there is. There is no better feeling.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, that is number one. That's it. Nothing.
So I want to ask you, when is Yamaha making a 350? Why aren't you flying that up the flagpole?
That ain't going.
Do you know how quick I would be on one of those bikes? Do you know how I would pay for that with real Gypsy money, real hard-earned Gypsy cash? When's it going to happen?
It ain't happening.
Oh, it's so disappointing.
It ain't happening. It'll be electric before this 350, bud.
That's so true. I mean, I'm probably not going to ride a bike with a motor after like the end of this year anyway. So this is a stupid conversation to get into.
Oh, let's get on, because I'm really going to have to.
You got to go.
Hustle here. So let's get on to talking about the biggest, hottest topic right now.
What's that?
The Super League. What is it called? Super. Hey, I want to see if you smash that microphone into your forehead.
I don't want to talk about it. I'm over it already.
I want to see if you've sort of. So you talked about it with Sleater, right? And you got real.
Well, did I get my point across? Because I think, well, I don't know if I articulated my point, and I think that what came out so I knew about the 3-round hybrid sit. Like, I've known about it for ages, but I just don't want to be the guy that is like chasing breaking stories.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's propaganda.
Yeah, I don't want to do. But so I knew that was coming for a few months, and that's when I started connecting all the dots of like, okay, well, this is the play now to lock these guys into this Fugazi championship that is then going to occupy their time smack bam in the middle of SX Global. Like, it's just a play. Like, and I get it.
It is.
And in the same way that we just said that, so this is like the Yamaha like claim thing. It's like, yeah, you can make the claim, but then we can also say that we'll pull this, and this. And it's like, we're fine. We're within our rights to do that. And then that's how you just shut something down. Yeah. So like that is the same thing that's going on here. And that's what I was saying is like motocross is the one with its head on the chopping block.
Yeah.
Because Feld is not going away. All the stadiums are on lock. I don't want AMA Supercross to go away. I don't want AMA Motocross to go away. The point that I was trying to make is that all of this shit that's going on behind the scenes is about protecting the interests of the American series. And it's like, now, I guess, I don't know if I made that point clear enough, but like, that's the point that I was trying to make, is like, there's just people all throughout the industry, and it makes sense. Like, they've got ultimate control. Like, it's like a conveyor belt of, there's like a supply chain of like, teams and riders and sponsors and TV deals and all, like, it's a pretty well-oiled system. And it's like, if I was them, I wouldn't really want the boat being kind of rocked either. And I think the point that I was trying to make in all of it is like, I think we're all just looking at like the picture in the wrong way and thinking that somebody's going to like ultimately lose out, instead of all thinking like, okay, this is actually kind of a good thing in a sense, because what we have is like a real lack of teams. Like, we don't have a lack of talent. We've got so many riders that are just like, dedicate their entire life to the sport, and then they come and then they go, and then they don't have a fucking job.
Well, they've been homeschooled.
Yeah, and there's so many guys that just don't even get there. And you look at a guy like Alex, the Martin brothers. This is like the perfect thing for the Martin brothers. They should be motocross only. That's a guy that's very suited to motocross, and he would continue, like, he's retired. He would continue to be an asset to a team that needed a rider. So I just think that everyone kind of got this wrong in a sense. It was like an opportunity for everyone to be like, oh, this kind of like frees us up. Like, this gives us more, this gives everyone more to work with and everyone more room. But instead it's just like driven this massive wedge between like these sports that I didn't really think needed to be there.
Yeah, I think from my side was probably from, like, if I look at it, was from a rider perspective.
Am I off base saying any of that, do you think? Like, no. Is that a bad opinion or?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I would have challenged you on something that I didn't agree with. But from my perspective is the rider perspective, right? So am I right in saying that the figure was like 10 mil extra to the pot now? Is that?
Well, so I think it's now everyone has to take this with a grain of salt because I don't know exactly, but I don't think they even know exactly. There's a couple other things that.
What my point is here, right?
I think 10 mil is like the overall purse between motocross and supercross and super duper duper cross.
So
and
what's the purse
combined.
currently then? If that's the
I'm not sure
because there has to be a major increase for them to come out and say that like there's 10 mil purse, right? There has to be.
Yeah.
But,
so
so where was that money for the riders in the past? Because the riders are the ones, and this I've been now like banging on about this for years, right? The riders are the ones that they make the show, but we're just being locked into the system of, well, this is how it is, that's how it's going to be, and that's all you get.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the promoter, there's no return on basically the clowns for the circus. None at all.
Yeah.
And we need to see, that's what I was really intrigued with World Supercross, is that they're actually this respect for the athletes and the riders that are going to be putting on that show. And that's needed to have happened now for a number of years. It's clear to see that with the one in Marvel, like the riders there, they want to work with WSX.
Yeah. And that was another point.
That's clear.
Yeah. It's just like, hey, these guys run great events.
They would openly say that. I know they would.
They have openly said that.
There you go.
And also, I'm actually, you've got me going, Ben. You've really got me going on this topic. When I posted that thing that said like, 10 mil, wonder where that's been hiding all these years.
Yeah.
I got messages from every rider.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I'm not going to say who.
No, that's fine. You don't need it.
Every fucking rider said the same thing to me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, they're not pumped.
No.
And then so I listened to, shout out to Josh Mosman. He did a MXA video like on YouTube that kind of like broke the whole thing down. And there was an interview with, I think is it Lisa Coombs or like someone in the Coombs family or whatever? She come out and there was like a bit of an interview thing that she did, and basically was like, we've been listening to the riders and like this is like we're doing this for the riders. We're adding 3 more fucking races to a series that all of the riders have said we fucking race too much.
Took the words out of my mouth. That was what I was gonna say. Like if it's for the riders, they've extended the entire season.
There is no off season.
Well, yeah, I mean
there wasn't already.
The
but
off
now it's
season
fucked.
is just testing and preparation again. Like there is no downtime whatsoever.
No, and so instantly, as soon as I heard that,
they've extended it.
Yeah.
Not actually. Yeah, they might have reduced the number of races potentially.
But you've extended the season. You've got to be on now.
Yeah,
you've got to be on from January.
Well,
to
you're not
November.
on from January because you start in November.
Yeah, you're going November to November.
That's the part, that was the second piece of the puzzle. So the finances for the riders, but also then the actual, like the entire schedule for not just the riders.
The mechanics. The truck drivers.
The entire infrastructure of what is the American scene.
Yeah, I just think they just everyone's missed the mark on this. And for Feld to come out and say
that they've been working on
they've been working on this for so long.
No,
you haven't. You know how I know this? Because you can't tell anyone what the prize money is. You can't tell anyone what the tracks are going to be like. You can't tell anyone the fucking stadiums that you're racing. Like, and I know so much like behind the scenes stuff that people have said like, all right, if you're going to do this, this is what you should do. You should go here when this event's on because this event will bring blah, blah, blah. This stadium's cool with it. They just fucking missed the mark. So this was like this rushed thing to basically try and lock these dudes in before, and they got it in before the first SX Global round. It was as soon as Roxon signed the deal, and as soon as Tomac did the deal.
How does that look then in the next 12, 24 months for SX Global?
All right, so
how do you think, in your perspective, how does it look for them going forward now?
I'm not I think the show goes on regardless. And
it does. I agree. Yeah.
I also think, and I said it before, that I just don't know that they need the big names. But like, I know the countries that they're going to, and I just don't think that many people care in those countries. I think that they're going to be countries that love motorcycle, like a hugely cultural motorcycle countries, where motorcycles are the most used form of transport. Like, this is like porn for countries that ride scooters. You know? So like, I just don't know that you need Ken Roxon on the line, and I don't know that you need Eli Tomac on the line, right? So I think that it's going to be successful regardless. And I think that, like, have you been paying attention to any of the Live Golf stuff?
Yeah.
So
from afar,
Cameron Smith, he won the Open.
He's locked in, right?
So, well, I actually don't know. I think he hasn't confirmed it yet. But the fact, if you're not confirming something or you're not denying something, is that you're not going to let a scandal go on if it's, whether it's smoke
right.
it.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not official, but he hasn't denied it because he probably can't, because he probably is going to do it. $100 million. So he wins the Open and just says like, all right, I've got the title. I'm in the record books. I've won what I wanted to win. He's probably going to wait until after the President's Cup, because there was actually a court case recently that ruled that he couldn't. The players that were in Live actually couldn't play in the PGA Tour.
Really?
Yeah. They've gone to court over it. So it's kind of interesting to watch how the Live Golf thing's happening. But it's reported that he's going to make $100 million.
Wow.
From that. And it's just like, I think that the biggest thing, and like, this is the message that I've got out of all of this, and I think for all the riders that listen to this that are racing, you are worth $60 million.
Yeah, but the riders are, but their worth is more than...
No, their worth is $60 million.
I don't understand how you get to that.
$50 million is the investment into SX Global over the next 5 years. And then $10 million a year for this Super Duper Duper Cross.
Oh,
so
right.
So this is so before that, what was the overall prize purse of Supercross?
Yeah, that's why.
But it's not much.
You.
Like it would have been in the hundreds of thousands, right?
Yeah,
so probably not even.
Yeah,
it's probably not even $1 million, right?
Yeah.
So in 2021, as a Supercross rider, you were worth 3/4 of fuck all to the industry.
Yeah.
So like that value.
That was the point I was making.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I'm sitting here from a rider's perspective.
Yeah.
And that value was worth nothing.
You've been getting lowballed.
Yeah.
For years, right? And so that's kind of my big point to make now that all this shit's come out is like, all right, the market value of Supercross riders at the elite level is now set. Well, call it $100 million, because you've got $50 million for 5 years, and then you've got 10 mil a year. So if you do the 5 years, 10 mil a year at the Feld and MX Sports end, and then the 50 over here, then you've got $100 million. So you've gone, and this is why competition is a good thing. And this is why you should want competition in the marketplace. Our entire economies are all built on free market economy, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And so you had a monopoly on Supercross for years, that the market value, like what the market determined the value of these riders at, is, like you said, 3/5 of fuck all. And now in 1 year, with one company coming in, you are now valued at $100 million. So my advice is, all of the riders that are in that big picture, act like you're worth $100 million. Because you are. Unequivocally now, that's what you're worth. So I think that if the riders act like that, and the deals going forward, like we're in a weird kind of transition.
Yeah, it is a strange sort of period. And that's why I asked, what do you think it looks like?
I think the SX Global guys are going to do a really good job this year. And then I think they just have to hustle like fuck next year
because I really do believe that they talk about that it's going to expand into mainstream.
I think it will too.
Brands and outside industry being involved, but that's one of their main drivers, right? When they talk about it.
Yeah, and then sorry, you go.
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing there is, I still believe there has to be, for at least the short term future, there has to be some brand involvement there, and I don't see
by what do you mean by
motorcycle brand involvement.
All right, so let me throw this at you then. You're Barsha, right? Doing pretty good. You're a podium guy. What's to say you don't just do a Cameron Smith and you go to SX Global and you go like, look, I'll come here for 3 years. I want $3 million to come here for 3 years. And then if I win the championship and it's like a whatever bonus, like take that off my I'll earn that $3 million through, the thing. But give me a guarantee. So if Barsha, let's say like he has a bad season and then gas in America because they're just like so focused on winning these championships. They've got to get the next guy that can like win a championship. So then, as soon as his neck's on the chopping block, you just go over there. You've still got a guy that's like a massive name that is going to draw those like endemic fans, can put on an amazing show for you. And then you're just giving a guy like him a second, you know what I mean? Like a little bit of wind at the end of his career. Ken Roxon, you've got Jet Lawrence coming up next year that's going to take your spot. Fuck, I'm going to SX Global and I'm not going to do the outdoor season. I'm not going to put my body through 17 races. He's already struggling at times with his health. And it's like, you can't be doing, when you're a rider like Ken Roxon and you're going from November to November and then you have no off season, you go from November, like, no, they're all over it. Like all those guys are over it. It ain't going to take much, man. Honestly, it ain't going to take much.
I think the problem is though, not the problem, but it is the fact that next year, because a lot of them are bound by contracts already, that was going to be
the year for them to
now they're locked into that super duper series.
I wonder
for
how many
2022.
But see, I wonder what's going to happen with that, right? Because if you signed a deal and your deal goes into 2023 and they've just added races to your deal on like all these different dates. Like, I mean, I wonder if there's some stuff like there's some lawyering that can take place. Like, I'm sure there's ways around this shit, and I'm sure that you're going to see some guys that want.
I don't know. I think you're going to, that's a lot for a lot of those riders. They're safe. Like that's a safe place for them to be. I think, until that extra component came along, I think there was the ability to then say, right, I'm interested, like how can we make this work?
Yeah.
But now when that component's added in, unless they can completely get away from the fact that they need to race and that due to contractual obligations, they're pretty well locked into that because that's who they race for, and that's what that team is obligated to race for that year, that calendar year.
Yeah, but I just wonder if guys are just going to structure their deals differently, and if guys are going to.
I think they would have if that hadn't, but that now is just.
Maybe there's now. You could have to say like, I don't know if this contract fucking holds up now. Like you've added these races. Yeah. There's all this different stuff going on. Like, I don't know, but it's. I think that the biggest takeaway is that the market value is now being set. And I really just think that the riders need to act like their market value, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're right. For so long, the riders have not had their say in it. And, I mean, I think, too, a lot of it is going to go off the success of these events this year. And I think that if these events look and feel like the way that they've always felt.
But we know, I was just going to say.
Yeah, but we know. We know. But who else knows? For me to be fielding the phone calls that I was fielding.
Chad knows, Ando knows, RC knows. Cooper knows.
Villo knows.
Yeah, like they're heavy hitters. Yeah. They know. Yeah. All right, I'm going to have to.
One more.
Wait, yeah. What's yours?
Well, no, you go. You go.
Well, by the time this comes out, we'll know the answer to this, but someone rode at Star this week.
Yeah.
Do you know who it is?
Nah, because I text Papa.
And Did you get an answer?
He didn't know. He said he didn't know.
Well, apparently someone rode there this week.
Apparently it's Roxon, if you believe the internet.
I reckon there's 3 options.
All right, what are you thinking?
Dungy.
Oh!
Cooper.
Oh!
Cooper.
Webb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Roxon.
I think Roxon's your least likely candidate.
I believe the most likely candidate's Cooper.
I believe that
he's off contract at the end of next year. Eli's finished at the end of next Supercross season.
Does Cooper want to do motocross?
Well,
probably not.
I believe like now, you see the fact that Eli's on a Supercross only deal.
Yeah. And
that there's a new bike that's just appeared. I believe that's the most likely.
And it looks like candidate. A KTM.
Yeah.
What? So you've. That's the last thing I wanted to talk about. All right, you got. All right, just give me 15 minutes here, mate. So that new Yamaha's coming out. Eli Tomac is an enigma of a person. Not many people in the sport know that much about him. Like, very tight-lipped, no social media. Like, does it probably as good as an athlete could do being an athlete, I think. No manager, all that shit. You're a person that's spent so much like time with him, and you actually talk to him regularly.
Yeah.
You got any goss? You got any tea?
Nothing. There's nothing to give you, man. The guy is just like...
I love it, eh?
Yeah. No, there's nothing.
So,
nothing at all.
Well, all right. How about we talk about then the Hurlings versus Tomac?
Oh, that would be epic.
So I'll take the lead on this one real quick. I've spoke to both of them.
Yeah.
So thanks to you. Well, because actually you're the one that fucking lined it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't publicly said too much about it since the Hurlings podcast. But for the listeners of Gypsy Tales and for the wider motocross world, I've spoken to both Jeffrey Hurlings. I've spoken to Eli Tomac. I have both of those guys saying that they want to do it after Supercross 2023.
Yeah. I know Eli was his biggest thing was, hey, look, I need to just
the timing.
The timing has to be right for me to be able to do something like this. And I would assume that it goes also for Hurlings. It has to line up with things. But
well, less for Hurlings, would you believe? He literally said, "Fuck, I don't have my phone." He literally said, "He goes, yeah, man, we can fucking do it whenever. Let's do it."
Yeah,
he goes, "Let's do it."
Hurlings doesn't really think like too.
Bro, there's some he's fucking gnarly.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying he's not, but
he said
he's not thinking logically at the point when we'll do it whenever. But
he doesn't care. He said that he will literally ride Cooper's practice bike at Alden's. He goes, "I don't give a fuck. I won't even touch a clicker. I just want to do this."
Where are you going to do it?
Well, James Stewart's house would be pretty sick.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Could you imagine how rad it would be to do it at the Stewart compound? Because no one ever rides there.
Yeah.
And it's sand, and then there's like the clay, there's the massive jumps. I feel like that place would just be insane to do it. It's easy
That's
for
a pretty good option.
It's easy for Star,
do you
Stars
get people contact you going like, you're way too high right now, Gypsy, like saying that
all the time? Yeah. Do I give a fuck
about that? No, about this particular point.
Yeah, no, people think it's like insane. I said to Wygant too. He actually put it like a little bit in like race ahead, and I said to him, I was like, I've spoke to both of them, like they're both keen to do it, and I'm like fully down to like put up that money. So like I said, $100,000. I think we could probably get more than that. And then do a legitimate pay-per-view kind of deal.
Yeah, that's that is the one.
Yeah,
pay-per-view.
But you know what's it's funny. I said to Jeremy, told him the idea. I was like so hyped after we did the podcast, and he was like, "Man, 1-on-1 racing's boring," and it just like fully deflated me. And I was like, "Oh fuck, maybe he's right." But then I was like, "Wait, that's what we've had all season with Sexton and Eli."
100%. You just took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, well, not all season, but
pretty much.
But a big majority of the season, yeah. And we've just been on the edge of our seats for sure.
It's been incredible.
Yeah,
been, and like two contrasting styles.
Even in the 250s.
Yeah. It's just been like that Moto 2 of High Point.
Yeah,
Jet and Hunter.
Yeah, mate. All time, mate.
Bro, that is absolutely unhinged.
Yeah.
Like you go, the aliens come to Earth, and then you say, "Oh, tell me what's going on here." You go, "Oh fuck, have I got a story for you?" There's these two kids that live on the other side of the world, and then they went to Europe to race, and then now they've come here, and now on this day at High Point in Moto 2, both of them smashed the entire field. They were so much better than the rest of the world on this day, and they'd be like, well, fuck, that's pretty impressive.
I mean, Millville Moto, was it Moto 1 or 2?
Yeah,
Moto 2.
Same thing.
Yeah,
it's insane. So I actually do think that would be a pretty awesome race. And the thing is the match racing thing could get weird, like the one-on-ones, if it's just guys going for takeouts. But these two boys genuinely want to race each other as hard as they possibly can. At no point is Jeffrey going to try and take out Eli or Elijah. Like those two boys are going to. That would be, to me, I think,
that's
one of
not
like
their MO.
No,
they don't
dude,
race like that.
I'm down to make it 40 minutes and just watch, like, because could you imagine the first 20 minutes of that race, like maybe not trying to show lines, not giving up all the speed, maybe one guy gets out front, tries to break away a little bit early, and then if he can't, then it's like, you know, there's so much that could go on when those two dudes got into just one clean track, no other riders to worry about, just bang.
Yeah, I mean, the way that those two ride as well, you know, it's a very similar style of actual riding. They just what did you say? They want to make the ground hurt.
They just belt the ground. They just want to abuse the track.
And it's such a similar style of riding, and it would be epic to see it go head to head to see it happen. Yeah.
So James's place I think is probably on the short list, but I mean there's a million places.
No, there is a million places,
and
neither
of them care.
It has to be a wicked, like, epic location as well. That's got to be part of the storyline, right?
Yeah, and I said to both of the boys as well, I was like, because for me, I'm always talking about ways things should be done better, and, you know, like, I'm kind of on my high horse, and this, to me, I would go in on this event. I would empty my bank account to make sure that this was done in the way that I think a race should be promoted, if that makes sense. And the fact that you've got these two guys, like boxing Showtime, you know, like the like the Showtime countdowns and the press conference and the face-offs that you could do, and it's like, I just think there's so much juice to squeeze, and then I think that if you squeeze it right, then it can make an impact on kind of like the way that the sport gets presented. You know what I mean? Like, we could set and really look for these storylines and I think, you know, that was to get back to the super world thing again, is it's like, do we even need to keep these guys racing all year, or is there, like, there's got to be some value in an off season? Because if you look at the NFL, for example, like, I don't know if you've ever seen Hard Knocks or any of those. Like, man, the production around the race team, the football teams and the riders, the players, and like the way that they show the camps and the whole lead up to the series it gives you something, like, it permeates. You know, it builds and it builds, and I really think that
there's value in that.
Like, don't make them race all year.
Yeah.
You know, I think that it's almost like scarcity is, you know, it's just like a supply and demand issue now. Like, we're just going to have an oversupply of the same races over and over and over. And it's like, even, I think it's just like you're missing the mark to even expect that I guess that's what makes it feel like they're just treated like clowns in a sense. It's just like, we don't care, just go out, dance on the fucking stage on the day that we tell you to dance on the stage, and then we'll tell you when you got to do it again.
Yeah, that's got to change.
Yeah.
I thought we had the opportunity to see that change with SX Global, but I'm sort of on the fence of how that's going to look now. It's got a different
like tone to it now.
Yeah.
So just to go back to the Tomac Hurlings thing, how's it go down? How's it play out?
Hurlings.
Whoa!
Yeah, he would.
You're gonna do your boy like that. You're gonna do your boy like that.
But he would just leave it all on the table.
He'd die trying.
Yeah, die trying. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, I know Eli wouldn't. there would be a point where it'd be like, there's, I've got a lot of hunting to do in the second part of my life.
Yeah. So, all right. So take out that factor. Best guy, who wins?
Best guy, sorry?
So, like, best version of Hurlings, best version of Eli. Take out the risk that they would or wouldn't. Take out any of the real world shit.
Like, honestly, not sitting on the fence. Like, they're both animals, and like what we're seeing from Eli at times this year is as good as he's been. I mean, he was maybe arguably slightly better on that Honda for whatever reason that was, for a couple of rounds before he got injured in 2015,
I think,
was it? Or
that wasn't a great year bike either.
Yeah,
for Honda.
Yeah, he was just
so good.
Yeah, just an animal.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just no.
Yeah, I really like. I really don't think that's a very, very hard question to go either way on, because of the way that the intensity and style of racing that they ride is very, very similar in that respect. The way that they go about their riding, they're just all, when that gate drops, they're just absolutely all in everything they've got, and they leave it all out there.
Yeah, and I just think it's so cool they're both kind of towards the end of their career. Jeff's got a bit more time on his, but they've never even spoken to each other.
Yeah, but that's not unusual in that sense.
Oh, no, definitely. But I think what's so cool is, you get these two guys that are on these different sides of the world, and they're on these different career paths, but they're the same guy.
Yeah.
Eli
That's
is the
I'm
Jeffrey.
saying.
Yeah. And then you just slowly bring these guys together. There's like this build up, and then these guys who have this amazing amount of respect for each other and this genuine curiosity of like, I just really want to race this dude one-on-one. And I don't know, just that would feel like a really cool thing to happen just for those two guys, even personally.
Yeah.
Just to, a meeting of like it's almost like you.
I just look at it for the sport. Like, it's something that would be just a whole different direction that we haven't seen before for the sport. I guess that's one of the big things that I was really looking forward to with SX Global, to be honest with you, to see if we can actually reach that mainstream viewer or fan with around the globe.
I think we are.
We're not doing
general.
that with MXGP. That's just not happening. I can tell you that. I don't know if that's happening. Well, that's not happening with AMA Motocross. Like, they are core fans.
Yeah.
I can't really speak for Supercross, AMA Supercross. I'm assuming that they do get the casual fan.
Jeremy McGrath was peak Supercross. I'm sorry for anyone. Like, I don't think that.
So I was really interested to see what SX Global could achieve.
Yeah, I don't think the wind's totally out of that sail, eh?
Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah,
yeah, I really
I don't. I think that there's some guys that can, like a guy like Barsha can, just say, yeah, I'm out. I'm going over there. And, I think that there's other guys that can do it. I think Cooper could do it as well. I think Ando could do it. Like, I think you're going to see some guys, like, really. I mean, 23 might be a kind of a flat year for them, because, like you said, with contracts and stuff like that.
I truly believe the finances is the biggest driving factor.
Yeah.
If they can back up the direction that they've started here with, in the way that they've been able to put teams together and get some runs on the board for this year.
Yeah.
The driving factor will be, can they go that direction of the golf? Was it Live Golf?
Live Golf, yeah.
Can they put that in play for riders, for the future? Yeah. That will be.
Well, the two problems with the AMA currently is the riders aren't they feel undervalued, and then they feel overworked. And if you are a boss, if you're listening to this and you've got employees and you've got workers that are underpaid and overworked, that's a really fucking terrible recipe as an employer, and I think that's the way that these guys feel. And I think that that's kind of what I was trying to get at with this Cooper thing. And Sleater rightly so, said, well, if it's in the contract, it's in the contract. And I said, yeah, that's fine. But in Cooper's mind, and this is me speaking for him, I don't know this for sure, but in Cooper's mind, I would say that Cooper would feel more like a business owner than an employee.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe you can speak on that as a rider. Like when you were doing your thing, you felt like I am an agent in this. Like I am my own person that is making my own decisions, who I sign with, who your hand probably gets forced at a time when, you know, rides aren't available, but it's still you that's kind of making that decision, you know?
If you've put yourself in a position and results obviously determine that you can actually then, you can run the plays, really, because you're in that position to do that. I feel like that's how most riders that are in that
would
position
feel,
would think,
I just think that, and that's the thing. Like I'd say Ken Roxon or Cooper Webb or Eli Tomac, they wouldn't see themselves as like better than a mechanic or a truck driver in that sense as a person, but in terms of like as a member within a business, it's like, okay, well, I'm not an employee of Star in that same sense. Like they contract my services.
Yes,
you know,
that's the way I see it.
That's the angle. That's the angle that they're looking at. And then I think that where that whole conversation came around with Cooper is that he's then being dictated exactly what he can do, as though he is a guy that's driving a truck. Like, no, you can't drive the semi to your son's club day. The semi will be going to Unadilla that weekend, you know? So I think that's the area that we're in. And I think that that's the question that kind of got raised now that this whole SX Global thing's come in. And I think that's the point I guess I'm making is like, all right, your value has now been set as riders. So, yeah. Unreal.
Right, I got to go.
Tomorrow, mate.
Yeah,
that was great. Thanks for doing that, Ben Townley, ladies and gentlemen. I wish we could do this more, mate. But
yeah, no, I enjoy it. It's I've never been obviously in here, but it's just doing the podcast in general. I really enjoy. Just, you know, there's lots of topics, and I feel like how we started the conversation is I'm really removed from the scene.
You're removed but connected.
Yeah, removed but connected. So I have a different, you know, sort of view. I look through a different lens to what most really just right in the industry probably are, you know. So probably have a different. People might think it's weird, but I try to look at it pretty black and white. And
well, I think you just ultimately wants what I think what is unique about your position, and probably in a sense my position too, because I'm not over in the pits and I'm not doing all of that stuff, is like I just want the best for the sport, and I think that you do as well.
Yeah.
And when 100%. You're not, no deal, like no one, I'm not making a deal that could influence my opinion. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I'm not in the thick of it in that sense. Like I'm fully independent.
Yeah.
So like, and when I want the best for the sport and I'm fully independent, I can say what the fuck I want, and I genuinely believe I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that the things that I say comes from this belief that I want, you know, things to like move in a better direction. And it's the same for you. Like you're not implicated in that way anymore. I have perspective at the age that you're rightly pointed out that I'm at. Being in your 50s. So, you know, it just gives me that perspective, I guess. And then that perspective is then, like I said, being from New Zealand, it's not in the scene whatsoever. And so I just, I look at it and I analyze it and take it, I guess, that helicopter view that people talk about. You know? Yeah. Well, methodmoto.com, and good luck to Jagger Townley tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Yeah, boy. Thanks, bud. Thank you, mate. Is that your phone or mine? No, that's mine. That was good, eh? Awesome, bud. I love it. It's good. Good time. I get it, Jag to bed. Yeah, I'll let you out. Jag, man, you're asleep there? If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.